€1,000 was spent on tickets and travel to the Rugby World Cup in Japan and a further €26,000 on the Champions League final in Madrid. The committee meeting was sparked by the revelations of undeclared payments to Ryan Tubridy. Senator Ronan Mullen believes salaries at RTE should be capped.
We have to look at this. I mean, we've been told for years, this is the market and we'll lose them and so on. I think all that has to be tested. We are a relatively small media market in Ireland. You can't get away from the fact that you are talking about taxpayers' money, no matter how pay is structured in the national broadcaster.
A Donegal County Councillor believes once again Donegal is missing out as the HSE has confirmed there are no plans to develop a day hospital to support the child and adolescent mental health service in the county. Councillor Jerry McMonigal says there are significant gaps in the CAM service in Donegal and that additional facilities are needed. He says parents are anxious to get a day hospital up and running. Councillor McMonigal says while other organisations are providing support, much more is needed.
There's a lot of good services going on, but I think what's missing is the Camsby service hospital, and I think that should be looked at. And I asked them to look at that again, and maybe sometime in the future we could have one located in Donegal.
Searches are continuing in South Donegal today following an alleged assault in the Slieve League and Killybegs area. Yesterday, Gardaí and the Garda Water Unit began searches at a pier near the cliffs. Searches had been taking place at the popular tourist spot since Monday. However, investigators have most recently been focusing their attention on Teelan Pier. A man in his mid-60s, originally from Northern Ireland, is understood to have been the victim of a serious assault in the area over the weekend. Access to Slieve League remains closed and Gardaí are continuing to appeal for information, particularly camera footage, including dashcam. Garda Commissioner Drew Harris says the incident is being treated as a serious crime.
We are concerned that a very serious offence has occurred. There is an individual who is missing. We would seek the community support in terms of information that could be provided to us in respect to that individual's whereabouts. This is an investigation being conducted by Donegal Division. Obviously, if we need assistance from PSNI in terms of information, that would be forthcoming.
Weather now today will be humid and mostly cloudy with scattered outbreaks of rain and drizzle. Highest temperatures of 16 or 17 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Nipping out to get bin bags.
We've got some.
Well, I'd better take the dog out.
But we don't have a dog.
Okay. The Double Big Mac is back at McDonald's.
Right, get the keys.
The Double Big Mac and the new Double Big Mac with bacon are here for a limited time. Don't miss it. Available until the 1st of August. Served after 11 a.m. Subject to availability. Participating restaurants only.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning to you. 3 minutes past 9 on this Friday the 30th of June 2023. Hopefully you are very well indeed and you're with us here for the next 3 hours. Loads to keep you informed, entertained of course, and we're going to kick off with our Friday panel. And before we do introduce them, I want to remind you how you get involved. We want your views and your comments to 086 60 25,000 from outside the Republic, 0035386 60 25,000, or give us a call to 074 91 25,000 and emails to comments at highlandradio.com. If you want to watch today's show, you can get on to our YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland, where you can watch on your phone, your tablet, your smart TV, your Fire Stick, whichever way you prefer. We're across Facebook as well, Highland Hub, Highland Radio News and Sport, and you can also click Watch Live on our website. So there you have it. No excuses, everybody. All right, let's say good morning to our guests this morning. We'll say hi first to Mary Hott, broadcaster and journalist. Mary, good morning to you. Great to have you back on the programme.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning.
Lovely to have you, as I mentioned. We also have Councillor Micheál Colin McGill-Nasbig, Independent Councillor in the Glentees Municipal District. Good morning to you, Micheál. Great to have you on board. And last but not least, Leonard Watson, owner of Watson's Menswear, Letterkenny. Hi, Leonard. Great to see you again.
Good morning, Greg. Good morning, panel.
Right, okay. it's still the top story. And yesterday was another rough day for RTE's top execs who appeared before the Oireachtas Public Accounts Committee the day after they went before the Media Committee. A week after it emerged, RTE did not disclose that it paid presenter Ryan Tubridy around €345,000 above his salary over 6 years. It's clear the crisis is not going to go away for the broadcaster any time soon. Quite a lot developed yesterday and the day before. The Irish taxpayer, we heard, may have been defrauded over undeclared payments made by RTE to its highest earner, Ryan Tubridy. A committee has been told they're not really quite sure yet either if there was any tax avoidance involved in how these payments were made. Chief Financial Officer Richard Collins also said he believed there was concealment and deception in two €75,000 payments to Tubridy, which bumped his total annual fee up to €515,000. And then, of course, there's the barter account. €270,000 out of that spent wining and dining RTE clients at rugby games, soccer games, U2 concerts and all that. Okay, so Mary Hart, what have we learned? What have you taken from the last couple of days? Where does RTE go from here?
I wish I could tell you that because I have learned very little and I don't know where they're going to go from here. I had worked in public service broadcasting myself for 25 years, and I do know the checks and balances, the word being compliance that BBC put all of us under. I am shocked that RTE have managed to still continue to do what they were being checked for having done years ago. The reason why we're getting the salaries of the top presenters is because nobody knew what they were getting, and then they were obliged by the Oireachtas committees to do that. What we have got to bear in mind first and foremost here is that this is taxpayers' money. This is a licence fee that all of us are obliged to pay. If we don't pay it, we can end up in jail, which has happened. Now, on top of that, there is a coterie of people like myself who would be journalists. Emma O'Kelly, I worked with her in BBC and Derry. She's the NUJ union representative who's, I suppose, challenging RTE now head on, and no better person to do that. She's a very competent lady. Those are the people that are the nuts and bolts of RTE. They're the backroom people, and of course Emma and of the front line journalists. They are absolutely anger is not a word I would use. They're disappointed. They're frustrated, and not surprising, they have now got to take on top of all of that, the public, who, when they go to interview someone, will turn around and say, "Oh, sure, you people have been bluffing all along." They're taking it face on. Now, I know Ryan Tubridy is the person at the core of this, but I would think that Ryan Tubridy is not the only person with whom these sweetheart deals have been done down the years. I think there's an awful lot more to come out. I certainly, the executive board, like who appoints them? I don't know. Are they government appointees? Like, who decides who goes on the board of RTE? Who makes that choice? Because by the looks of it, they were doing nothing. They were just allowing RTE to carry on doing. The executive board is supposed to make sure that everything is done above board. And certainly, Richard Collins yesterday, when he was asked, and he is now someone, excuse me, that I assume if he's RTE's financial controller, he is in a staff job, but I could be wrong there. They're a two-tier, however they manage to be like that, they are a two-tier organisation. They're public service and they're also get advertising. But when he was asked for his salary, he was not going to tell what his salary was.
Well, can I add to that, if you don't mind, Mary? He's the chief financial officer with RTE. He wasn't able to say absolutely what his salary was. He doesn't know what his salary is. He says it was in and around €200,000 plus a car, but he'd have to double check that. So yes, he was reluctant to say it, but when he did say it, he didn't have an exact figure. He was not, the chief financial officer was not sure of his own actual salary.
Yeah, well, I think that's disgraceful. Surely, I would imagine, Greg, you know exactly how much you're getting every year in your annual salary. And I would think that he should, as the financial controller, at the top of his head, immediately able to say how much, as well as the fact that he should have been prepared to be asked that question in the first place in the Dáil, or at the finance committee. So, there's an awful lot of covering up, and there's to me, it just smacks of, sort of almost rightmanship, that this is RT, we're above board, we're the public service broadcaster, you are the politicians, we ask you the questions, you don't ask us the questions. And, for anyone, I feel sorry for anyone working on RT at the moment. I'm angry as much as anybody else on the street. I watched the RT news last night, and every single person who's spoken to on the street in a vox pop were irate. So this is something that goes right into everybody's home, because people do actually, watch the RT news. They listen to various programs on RTE. So being the national broadcaster is where they turn to get the news at certain times. I'm not saying they don't listen to Highland Radio, but it is there. It's the national broadcaster. The other awful thing about it is what Siún Ní Raghallaigh said. Aside from the act of designed to deceive, that was how she put it, which is a terrible indictment on Dee Forbes and whoever was alongside her to make this decision. But also, there's the attitude of, this is money that we can do whatever we want with. We can pay people whatever we like. Having a bus to U2 concerts and tickets to the World Cup rugby. Did anybody ever say, where's the compliance here?
No one ever did. And I want to come back to you and we'll tease out the future going forward. Micheál Colm, what has your reaction been to this last while? And people might say, well, why are you talking about that when there's other issues like homelessness and health and what have you? But the bottom line is this is another arm of the state. I think really what we've got an opportunity to see with seeing how this executive operates is really maybe what the mindset is at the head of the civil service in housing or in education or in health. And again, it's the rank and file people like the nurses and the teachers, that end up getting the grief. But it's these types of people at the top table that make the decisions and seem really quite insulated from reality. So I think this is an important story in the wider context of, of what goes on in this country. What do you think, Micheál Colm?
Well, I think probably similar to what the public thinks. Nobody's shocked at this. There's an expectance out there amongst the public, which is that the economic and the media and the political elite are up to the eyes in scandals like this here, and it's just a case that it hasn't broke, and this one has. People would very much believe that the likes of Ryan Tubridy is well looked after in RTE, as some others in RTE are well looked after in the quiet to peddle their economic and their political agendas. So I don't think anybody's surprised. What angers me more about it is that when things like these happen, that we're not far more angry, not frustrated or mad, but angry. We have RTE here based in our own county here in Radio and the Gaeltacht in Gweedore, who do fantastic work. And I know that additional money that has been wasted on the likes of Tubridy's and the U2 concerts and where else they're going, that would be a game changer in terms of more services being able to be provided to the Gaeltacht community. And the vast majority of people in RTE are hard-working journalists and staff, need that be cleaners or people on the front desks or whatever part they play. And I certainly know the people that I know that work in RTE aren't on much money. And the idea that everybody will be branded now, that's unfortunate, what Mary touched on earlier on when they go out to do their journalism. But this money could have been easily used to do proper journalism, to investigate what we're here to talk about today, which I think it's an absolute scandal. The Minister of Justice and the court orders she got the last week or so. But yet, when you're paying under table money, what it looks like to make sure that the ideology of a government, which is right wing, is being peddled on our national broadcasting so that we can make sure that we're keeping the public in check. It's nobody surprised in this, and people do expect that this goes on all the time, and that it's only every now and again that somebody trips and it comes to light.
Yeah, but I mean, it is the government parties that are some of the most vocal on this. They are questioning RTE about this. It's not like they're backing them up here.
Yeah, but they will. Yeah, because it's also for a lot of the government politicians too to talk about the likes of this here, and rightly so, that Brian Tubridy should be put up high and should be questioned as his directors and those that manage it. But it also gives a good screen on other very important issues that you touched on earlier. Right now, the Free State government and the political and economic classes are absolutely tripping over themselves to try to force the 26 counties to join NATO. We have thousands of people who are homeless right across the state, also within the 6 counties. So it gives another screen, the ongoing use of Shannon Airport by American military while they fight their wars across the world. All these things here are a great opportunity to screen the important real issues. The fact that here in Donegal that we have so many people who are without homes, so many families who only get to see their grandchildren through Skype a couple of times a week. So issues like these are ideal and are nearly quietly welcomed by a lot of senior politicians, because it takes away from other issues that they don't want the public to be poking at them.
With respect, I do think you're doing the public a disservice. I think they're across all of those stories and are very vocal in relation to that, and that might come to pass maybe at the next election, who's to say. But I'd have great faith in the public, particularly here in Donegal, to not allow themselves be distracted by a controversy like this But
it does happen, and you know, Greg, it does happen when there's big issues, coming up, that other issues are pushed to the fore by I suppose the media elite in Dublin.
But is this not what you're doing yourself, Micheál? You're just deflecting here now from a very serious story that has affected every single household in this country, because every single household in this country pays a licence fee to RTE.
Not every household.
Yeah, but you know what she means, though.
I doubt there's very few households.
The licence. And there's quite a lot of houses who can't and won't be paying it. But no, I'm not deflecting here, because I have a real genuine issue or a real genuine concern for the working class communities I represent, and also right across the 26 countries.
Yeah, but I think this story goes to the root of why we aren't addressing maybe a lot of the problems that you talk about.
Establishment, and that's exactly what it is. And you'll find very shortly that nobody pays any price for this apart from us, the working class.
Leonard Watson, what's your views?
George, Greg, probably what Colin and Mary touched on, I actually think it's awful for the staff. The staff from the top to bottom in RTE, they're all being tagged with the one brush. There's no accountability at all. That actually reminds me back of the boom times where money was just thrown around willy-nilly, and as Mary said, rugby matches, 10-year tickets for LARFU and Champions League things. It's just all very murky. A barter account that nobody seemed to know anything about. You have a board of directors there that didn't even know there's a barter account. I heard a woman on last night. She says she always knew that this barter account was for it's like a petty cash. I know hundreds of thousands isn't petty cash, but she was like for buying water. It was buying, and when she heard that there was actually hundreds of thousands being spent through this account or being funneled through this account. But I know people are saying, Ryan Tubridy. I think he's as culpable in this as everybody else. When they all had to take pay cuts in 2019, Ryan Tubridy and his agent were working on a deal for him actually get a pay rise. And I'm working in an organisation, you're in, Greg. If you found out somebody in your organisation had done a dirty deal on the side where you're all taking pay cuts and they're actually getting a pay rise, I think it's disgusting. The power that Noel Kelly seemed to have within the RTE, they all say that he just seemed to call the shots. He had 18 or 19 other representatives in RTE. He wasn't doing dirty deals for them, or was he doing dirty deals for them? So I think it's very sad, because we do need a functioning state broadcaster.
To serve what purpose? Because I keep hearing that. And I don't disagree. But
I would tell anybody, go on and watch GB News some night and watch that drivel that is pumped through that station. And it's an agenda on its own. I know Michael Collins says that there's an agenda here, but actually I still think.
Yeah, but go and watch it. Go and listen or watch to the Times TV channel or LBC. That hold government to account, that do provide a public service, but they're independently funded. I mean, are you saying the antidote to GB News is BBC News?
Well, do you know what? It's a fair. It's like, I know what you're saying. People say, there's agendas going on here and there.
Like, say, for instance, just in terms of state broadcasting, and not want to get into it, right? But let's just say in terms of for instance, what's going on in Ukraine, right? Which we all think is horrendous. I'm not for any way questioning that. But have you ever witnessed any nuanced coverage of that on BBC or RTE? Sort of maybe a counterpoint, or maybe talking about options for peace, or maybe even talking about where the Ukrainian bombs are landing, for an example. Now, as I say, I'm not getting into anything here or suggesting anything. I'm just, have you heard any sort of nuanced coverage of the biggest story in the world at the moment on BBC or RT, or do you just hear that everything bad that the Russians are doing and just that the Ukrainians are in this struggle, which is pretty much what it is. But would you not expect from a public service broadcaster to give you a more maybe rounded view of what's actually going on? That's what public service broadcasting would be to me. And this is what everyone says we need to retain, but we don't. What we get is we get the West narrative through BBC and RTE, with no challenge at all whatsoever. So we just have to accept that this is what we have to do, and this is the direction we're going, and this is how much we have to spend. There's no talk about conscription in Ukraine. There's no talk about other things that might be going on there. So, like, again, I'll just put it to you. Do you think we're being served by the public broadcaster on just an issue like that, for an example?
Well, Greg, John, I would have to say, no, maybe it's not BBC RT. I have heard other narratives, maybe things that the Ukrainian soldiers have been doing out there. So I have heard these on the news. Now, not as much as you say, is it very balanced? Not very balanced at all, but is it a balanced war? Like when there's bombs landing on
no, it's not. No, I'm not, and I'm not suggesting for a second. I was just trying to give a very current example. I don't want to get in ins and outs of. No, I know we know Russia's. We know Russia's the aggressor in this. Don't get me wrong. That's I don't get that. But there's other areas. There's other parts to the story that we don't hear. That's all I'm saying. And it's not in any way to say there's a cover up or anything. It's just I would expect more balance, not balance. Sorry, just more nuanced coverage of big stories like that.
I mean, I've worked with public service broadcasting, Greg, for 25 years, and I have been at the very core face of it, which is the journalists. And beaten into anybody working within public service broadcasting is that you get a balanced story, that you get two sides of the story, that you report it accurately, you're checked and balanced by your editor, you're checked and balanced by the producer of the programme. That does not happen all the time in a commercial station, because they don't have to do that, because they're not public servicely funded. And that's the issue here. If you're a commercial station like Fox News, you can do whatever the hell you want, because there's nobody watching you other than the fact that your shareholders hold you to account. And the shareholders holding RT to account are the public. So that is why we need public service broadcasting. And I would fight to the death to make sure the public service broadcasting is kept there, because you will get the fairness that you expect to get, and not the commercial answers that you get because somebody is paying your wages who wants a higher dividend at the end of the year in their share, and therefore they go after the most popular audience, which is not always, the masses are not always right. So you've got to get those programs that give you that you'll never get on commercial stations, because you don't get any money back on them. RTE, unfortunately, however it has happened, has a model that has both commercial and public service, and I think that model is going to have to be drastically looked at and pulled down and put in place, and that they're not, as Siún Rahilly said yesterday, they're not bidding against themselves. Ryan Tubridy didn't come from Hollywood to present a programme on RTE. He was a runner for Pat Kenny. He developed his career through RTE, and how in the name of goodness RTE end up then paying him a complete fortune to do the job that they trained him to do in the first place?
All right, Micheál Collum, you wanted to come in there, sorry.
not often myself and Mary possibly would agree on things, but I would certainly agree with Mary on that there, that a state broadcaster is very much needed. What we need to do is that the public has far more input in it in terms of what actually the narrative has been pushed. And let's be honest here, RTE have been pushing, because we're using the Ukraine war as an example here. RTE has been very much pushing the narrative of the West and not actually putting out that there is other narratives out there in terms of NATO's expansion, the objective actually of the West and the power block shifts throughout the world in terms of East and West. So as much as I absolutely would 100% defend a state broadcasting network, but there has to be a way that we as the public are able to challenge it, and that it's not left to the political classes dependent on those who are in government. Because if you have a situation where you have a right-wing government, which we clearly have, that narrative then is pursued within the state broadcaster, which RTE is, and that's what they pursue. Where if you look back maybe at the 80s, and in terms of when the Stickies had a very strong hand within government with X amount of ministers and quite a lot of sticks within RTE, that narrative was pushed. So you need a balance. And I get you. See far more left wing and far more balance instead of this conservative and then conservative right.
Well, can I put it to you that, so say, for instance, we have this situation where we have RTE that interviews the politicians, okay? It's the politicians that decide how much RTE get. If RTE do wrong, it's the politicians that question RTE. Right. I mean, where is the public role in this? I mean, Mary, would it be useful if it were the public asking the questions yesterday, if it were the public saying, will give us the top 100? Do you know what I mean? It's just like politicians, they all play five-a-side together. They go to the same table quizzes in Dublin. They go to the same concerts. They're friends. You know what I mean? So how is the public really represented in this public service broadcasting model then, for all the reasons I've just outlined?
Well, you're going to have to accept, whether you like it or not, Greg, that all the politicians are elected by the people, and that's why they're elected by the people. We can't all sit in the Dáil at a whim and say, I want to speak today. So our politicians are elected to speak for us. We have to trust them. We voted for them. We have to accept, and we're very fortunate in this country that we have proportional representation. So we don't have sort of the first person past the post to get elected. So we have a fair representation across the board. We have all the parties in Donegal represented in Dáil Éireann from each of our interests, if we have any interest whatsoever. But that politicians, we're back to the politicians being held to account by RT, but now the roles have been reversed, and now RT are being held to account by the politicians. And I do think they're doing a good job. I do think they're challenging. I watched last night, some of the broadcasts of the committee yesterday, and nobody is holding back on what they're saying. I mean, they're bouncing those executives off the wall. They're not getting the answers, but they will delve down on behalf of the public to find out what was going on in RT to allow pay to people that nobody knew about. And it's not just, a few pounds here and there. I do recall back when I joined BBC in 1984, there was a scandal within the organisation at that time in Belfast, and it had to do with someone who had misrepresented their travel expenses, and they were let go. Now, I mean, those are the kinds of things that should have been happening in RTE, that when you put in your docket for your travel from A to B, that it's correct. It looks to me like nobody was checking anything. Nobody was, as was said at the committee. What were you people, those four people a couple of days ago that were in front of the Oireachtas committee, what were you on the board doing? If Dee Forbes was doing one thing and you didn't know what she was doing, well, what were you doing? What is your function?
I think one of the issues here, Mary, is that it reflects the economic and the media elite and the political elite that has been substandard right through for generations, that they are the people that are so arrogant that can do as they choose, and that's what they've been doing, and they've just been caught out in this one. There will be many more. There will be many people within RTE that are hoping every day that they are not the ones that are going to be hung out. There are plenty of politicians out there who pray to maybe their gods every day that they're not going to get caught. The same way with the business classes, that they're not getting caught in terms of dodgy deals on tax, and then dodgy deals with maybe governments and state bodies. So the problem is it comes from right down to a class perspective, if you ask me. And I know we don't have all day to discuss this. But the unfortunate of it is that those that we do elect don't always speak in the best interest of those that actually elect them, and those that vote don't always vote in the best interest of themselves and their community. So our systems is upside down, if you ask me, and there's absolutely nobody shocked out there in the public, and no more than any of the rest. Leonard and the shop in the main street, who talks to so many people in the public, me and my work, I'm sure yourself, Mary, Greg Hughes every day in Highland Radio. Be honest, nobody's shocked here. The only thing is that it's just somebody else that's caught, and come next week, it'll be somebody else.
Okay, stay where you are.
An absolute change in system.
We'll come to that. We'll come to that, because what we're going to do is we've other issues to get through. We'll come back after the break, and we're going to find out from our guests. We'll start with Leonard as to, what happens next for that organisation, because you are funding it out there. So I think that's an important question. How does it rehabilitate? What does it itself? And how does it look into the future? We'll give that 5 or 6 minutes after the break, and then move on to other issues. Stay right where you are. Back in 3 minutes.
The 9 till noon show with the Lennon Festival Ramelton from the 6th to the 10th of July. Save the date and gather your friends for an incredible lineup featuring Sharon Shannon, ABBA Sensations and Jimmy Buckley.
Hi, I'm at the Garda station, but it's nothing. I told this girl I was seeing for a while that I'd put shots of her up online. Shots she sent me, so they're mine really. I only said I'd do it, but the guards are saying that's a crime now. It's not my fault, Mum. I didn't do anything. I only said I would.
Threatening to share intimate images is a crime with serious consequences. Contact your local Garda station if you need to report it. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Wake up, wake up. The Easy Living Furniture Summer Sale is on with up to 50% off all mattresses, pillows and mattress protectors, with a huge selection of mattresses that are exclusive to Easy Living Furniture and 0% interest-free finance available. Now is the perfect time to gift yourself the mattress of your dreams. Speak to one of our sleep specialists today. Summer sale now on with all mattresses reduced in Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park.
The Saturday Shuffle is coming to you live this Saturday from Lidl Buncrana. Go full Lidl this summer with a family fun day. We have loads of fun activities for all the family to enjoy from 12 midday till 2 p.m. and incredible prizes to be won in store and on air. So join the Highland team this Saturday at Lidl Buncrana. Go on Buncrana. Go full Lidl today.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
The 9 till noon show with the Lennon Festival Ramelton from the 6th to the 10th of July. Bringing you the super talented Sharon Shannon on Friday the 7th. See Lennon Festival Ramelton on Facebook for ticket information.
232. 3 simple numbers. But for Audi, they signify more. More innovation and excitement. An invitation to experience progress you can feel. And a shift in mindset to greater expectations. Like the competition edition on the Audi A4 and A5 S-Line models. All part of our 232 range. Discover how progress makes you feel in a 232 Audi. And book a test drive today.
The Paving Store, a creative landscaping works in Letterkenny, have all you'll need to give your driveway, patio or yard the wow factor. With a full range of Tobermoor, paving bricks and flags, walling, curbs and edging. They're also Donegal's leading supplier of millboard decking and cladding. They have the largest range of artificial grass in the northwest and a huge range of outdoor play accessories. See the unique displays and talk to the experienced team at the Paving Store, Lisnen and Letterkenny on 074 92 05039.
Inishowen Co-op, a one-stop shop for all your home, garden, DIY and agri needs. Premier brands, expert knowledge and great value. Whether you're building your home, painting a room or searching for a new washing machine, Inishowen Co-op have what you need and so much more. Visit us in-store and now online at inishowencoop.com.
We're in the company of Mary Hart, Councillor Micheál Colm, McGillen Asbeg and Leonard Watson. Leonard, I'll come to you just for a few moments as we see what happens next. Can you see a pathway for Ryan Tubridy to get back on air, for an example? Because I think this ongoing investigation into the balloon payments or these end of contract payments might show that they were introduced to artificially represent a pay cut. I think it might be difficult to get sponsors on board with him, and I think it might be really difficult for him to reconcile with the staff who thought that he was taking a pay cut similar to they were asked to pay for. Can you see a pathway back onto RTE for him?
Joe, I was listening to another programme yesterday. Greg was in the car, and there's a PR person on, and she says she feels actually he's going to have to walk away, go away for a year or two and come back. I actually don't see there is a way back. I agree with you, Greg. I would think sponsors would feel, a kind of thorn in their throat over sponsoring a show that is involved in now. And it's all down to accountability. Like I said, Greg, if I'm working in an organisation and we're all in it together and we're all taking pay cuts, and then you find out that the guy at the top of the tree didn't take a pay cut and actually got a pay rise, and had put on his account that there was no way that his pay was going to be cut in the next 5 years. It's galling, really. It's what, and there was a quote there from Ryan Tubridy about 3 or 4 years ago. We all need to do what we have to do. Well, he did what he had to do, and that was look after himself. So, you're asked the question about RT now. I think it goes back to accountability. This is a business that's owned by the people.
What's needed?
Well, do you know what, Greg? Mary said it. In other organisations, if something like this happened, people would lose their jobs. Like the chief financial officer was sitting there in the last couple of days. This guy's highly paid. Well, he's totally incompetent. The auditors have questions to answer. Why was the auditors not flashing this up 4 or 5 years ago that there's money in a barter account? The board, who was asking questions on the board? I heard Moya Doherty on last night. She says, they didn't know about the barter account, but the question was asked, well, were you asking questions about the financial? And she said, we weren't really. We're kind of, we were kind of accepted what was told us. And for them to say now that Dee Forbes had this amount of power in RTE, that she could just write checks willy-nilly, I don't believe that either. In a bigger organisation like that, there has to be accountability. There has to be checks and balances. And we're not chatting about 1,000 or 2,000. We're chatting about hundreds of thousands of euros that was spent, and nobody knew about this money.
People will suspect the board contrived to make Dee Forbes unavailable to be compelled to appear before the Oireachtas Committee. That information was also withheld from the Minister with responsibility. Yeah. You're talking about accountability. Well, there are major scandals emerging before our very eyes at these committees, and yet there is still no accountability. It's just like, well, I forgot, or I should have, or I didn't. So we're still seeing people being exposed for quite serious things, and yet they're back. They're going to be back. The same people are going to be back before the committee next Thursday. So there's no accountability before our very eyes.
But as you point out, Greg, the minister was hung out to dry, and the minister's actually, you could say, persona RT's boss. They're answerable to her, and for them to sit in a meeting last Saturday and go through all the financial stuff, and not to bring up the fact that they had suspended Dee Ford, and that But again,
well, they asked for it. No, they did tell her they'd suspended her. They didn't tell her that they had sought her resignation, which is right. Okay, Micheál Colm, how does RTE recover from this going forward?
Look, I'm not sure how RTE is going to recover from this here. I think that they'll push on. I think that Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael will cover them as much as they can. Bear in mind, and just a point that I meant to make earlier on is that, we need to look at the political connections. Brian Tubridy isn't just somebody who just worked up from, serving tea to producers to being one of the top broadcasters in RTE. He has political connections are out there in the open. They're massive, and again, going back
but we're a population of 5 million. Are we all not going to have political connections at one point or other? I don't have any.
Greg, there shouldn't be. The only thing I'll say, I know your son, he came from as you said, a tea boy, but that should be actually celebrated in some organisations too, that a guy can actually come from the very bottom to the top. And at the end of the day, you can say to one about Ryan Tubridy, he actually is a very good broadcaster. So
I wouldn't share that view, to be honest with you. But I don't rate the man at all. But we have to look at.
He speaks so highly of you too.
You just don't tap into a big job like Ryan Tubridy's without the political background and family that he has. And let's be honest about it. How does RT recover from this year? I'm not very sure.
Well, can I just ask you, because let's not forget to, Micheál, before you finish your point, they are going to take a hit in advertising revenue. They are going to take a hit in licence fee. Well, Centre Parks have already pulled out of any future sponsorship of programmes Ryan Tubridy's involved in. This is like 180 grand. It's not insignificant. And also, people are going to, in reasonably sized numbers, not pay their licence fee. They're already 90. They're also 90 to 100 million euro in debt. So this doesn't blow over next week. The problems from this crisis are going to be going in for years ahead. So just like, do you see a pathway for them? Like, is it a restructuring? Is it removing the commercial element? Is it state funded only? How do you think it might work?
Yeah, look, I think it's very interesting what Mary was saying earlier on, that it's worth looking at how did RTE trip into getting private funding. And then when you do get private funding, you're in a bit of a slippery slope there, unless the narrative or the agenda of the capitalist classes aren't looked after, do they continue to fund it? So I think that if you look at the likes of maybe Radio and the Guild, which all they do is continue to broadcast without any sponsorships, is certainly a way to go forward for RTE. But look, will the board do the honourable thing, resign? Will the politicians who knew about this, if they knew about this, will they resign? Absolutely not. Okay. Will things change? Probably not. Will there be small bit of jigging and wigging to kind of make it look like there's been massive change? Probably will be. Right. But overall, will it change in terms of the interest of who they're there to serve? I just don't have that optimism right now, to be very honest with you.
It is going to be interesting times because...
It's not that I want to be absolutely and utterly critical of RTE, because there's some fantastic people in RTE and there's been some fantastic programmes done through RTE through the years. But I do think that there has to be a revamp. There has to be a look at I suppose Radio in the Gaeltacht, the TG Cehaid, the Dublin 4 connection, the political elite connection. There has to be a whole revamp. Calling short for getting on the streets and calling the revolution today, I'm not sure what's going to happen after that.
Yeah, of course. And the model has changed too. It used to be, I think, 90-10 public versus commercial funding. Now it's 50-50 or thereabouts. There's the big wages that people are going to be asked to not accept anymore. I think they're going to try and bring people in on the books. There's a massive, we haven't got a figure yet, but a multi-million euro tax liability for these bogus self-employed contracts that's yet to come out. There is so much to come on this. Mary Hart, you've worked, as you've quite rightly pointed out, in organisations similar to RTE. How does the incoming Director General chart a course through this, out of this storm and into calmer seas? It's very hard to see that pathway for me anyway.
Yeah, it is, and I wouldn't like to have to take on that job, because certainly when he applied for that job, he didn't envisage this was what he was going to come right smack into. There are a couple of things that you have to bear in mind here, like the RTE or the media, everybody, it is like known as the fourth estate, so they're there to keep the public aware of what's going on. So, there's that issue. So RTE should be independent of the government. Catherine, maybe the minister may be in charge of, Catherine Mark may be in charge of RTE's, checks and balances, but she's not their boss. So what has to happen, and you asked about Ryan Tubridy, I cannot see how RTE can bring Ryan Tubridy back on air. I really can't see that. The issue there is, and I think it's kind of was flagged up somewhat, in that his contract was up now for renewal. So that means they won't be, they're not obliged to have him back, because he can't really challenge them because he has no contract. And that may have been something that was, maybe somewhere down the line we don't know about, that may have been something that was being manoeuvred anyway. I don't know. I mean, I really don't know, but it's unfortunate for him because that's, perhaps his agent, Noel Kelly, who I bizarrely was getting a fee. Bizarrely is the least of what I can say for giving advice to RTE. Now, why somebody, an organisation like RTE needed advice from somebody outside, such as an agent for the presenters, is beyond me, totally beyond me. So I think the independence of RTE from government influence and it must be the primary concern of anybody putting a shape back on RTE. Sadly, I think there is going to be an awful lot of people going to lose their jobs in RTE because they are on contracts, on jobs, and they're going to have to be made redundant. And I know someone within the media that I know suggested that it could be as many as 500 to job cuts in RTE to get themselves back on track, because it is top heavy. It has always been, in my sort of knowledge, I never worked for RTE other than as a freelancer, that there were a lot of people, employed in RTE that didn't do an awful lot. So they will be first and foremost. But unfortunately, too, those young people that just came in will be first in or last in, first out. And that's sad, too. So it's a mess. There is no other, you can't sugarcoat it in any way. It's a mess of their own making. They've been crying poor mouth to the government saying we've no money, and yet suddenly this all transpires that actually somebody did have money, and there's a whole heap of it sitting there somewhere for them to do whatever they wanted to do. And if I was a journalist in the newsroom in RTE and heard this, I would be looking for a job elsewhere, because I just think that they were let down so badly by those that should have been looking after them.
Yeah, and then in just a yes and no, finally, though, we have seen the worst of RTE. Have we seen some of the best of RTE in terms of the journalists that you talk of, the news teams, in covering this most difficult story that really focuses on their workplace?
Absolutely. I've watched Miriam O'Callaghan last night. She was interrogating a panel about her own story, So, and I do think they have been out there. They've been very fair. They've been very balanced. They've not held back. And I do think, it's been a tough job for all of those at the front line asking the questions and telling the story. And I do think they should be commended. And there's the proof. Those are the people that are the nuts and bolts of the organisation, not the talent as they became known as in BBC. The talent got the money and the hardcore employees did the work.
Okay, we'll be back with more after these.
The 9 till noon show with the Lennon Festival Ramelton from the 6th to the 10th of July. Experience the incredible ABBA sensations on Saturday the 8th. For ticket information, see Lennon Festival Ramelton on Facebook.
2 gig full fibre broadband from Virgin Media has landed in Donegal. Hear that, Aoife? Huh? Time to lose yourself in the latest Scandi crime series.
I have no idea what's going on here.
You should really put on the subtitles.
Fair point.
Whatever your genre, whatever way you play, Virgin Media is here. Switch today at virginmedia.ie. Virgin Media, it's playtime.
Subject to location and availability.
Connolly's MG now open in Killooney, County Sligo, the latest addition to the Connolly Motor Group family. Find your perfect MG driving experience with the award-winning range of fully electric and hybrid vehicles at our new showroom at Northwest Business Park, Killooney, County Sligo. Inquire about our full range today with our team on 071 910 6950 or visit our website connellys.ie.
Join us in Austin-le-Alton, Gordahork every Friday night this summer for Donegal's best night of music and dance with one of Ireland's finest singer-songwriters and entertainers, Sinead Crampsey, on stage from 10 till 12. Why not come early and join us for our Friday night steak night offer? 2 delicious steaks for just €36 and stay overnight with bed and breakfast the following morning for just €70 per person. For reservations, call Austin-le-Alton on 074 9135 267.
Our biggest ever summer sale is now on. Up to 70% off while stocks last. Shop in store at Evolve Clothing, Letterkenny Retail Park, or online at evolveclothing.com. Our biggest ever summer sale is now on.
Right. Phone and internet companies have been ordered to retain user data as part of measures to protect, we're told, the security of the state. Justice Minister Helen McEntee has obtained a High Court order requiring telecommunication service providers to retain certain information. These are your Vodafones, your Threes and what have you. The information they're going to retain includes including user, traffic and location data for a period of 12 months. So we heard yesterday from Digital Rights Ireland that that's likely to be a rolling application. The court application, which was held behind closed doors, was made this week by the Minister under the Communications Retention of Data Act 2011. We don't know the judge. We don't know what was submitted. We don't know what the risk to the state of the security is. We just know that the government will be able to hold pretty much all of your data that the telephone communication companies would collect routinely. Micheál Colm, I think this is one that you were very keen to bring in early on. What's your view on it?
I suppose, if I was to be very honest with you, I heard nothing about this until I was listening to Highland during the week, and I heard Dr. Shosha Kelly and yourself talk about this, and they brought it up. And I actually thought, and if Joe's listening to me now, he'll be mad with me, but I actually thought he got this wrong. But this is absolutely very worrying and very, very concerning. And I think the first thing that the Minister and the government should do is publicly tell us what threat is there to the state. Because that's under the guise of what... Now, I've been trying to get some information in relation to it, and there's not a wild pile of information out there on it. So it's very hard to discuss it. But I think that the Minister has to come out now and tell us what is the concern, what is the security concern that the government, the Dublin government has, that actually brought them to a point where they went, got a judge, were in camera, like you says, without knowing who she or he is, and actually brought this law in, where companies now will hold all our data. What business is it of you, me, or anybody else, what others do on a daily basis? Now, if you look back and using examples in terms of phone tapping that we've seen right through from the 80s right through to the guards, and in terms of how they monitor, I suppose, alternative groups out there, left-wing groups, how they are being used by the state, how this information will be used by the state under the guise of security. We've seen what happened in I was reading The Guardian earlier on today, in terms of since the 70s right up until the Knots, in terms of the English police infiltrating, very much focused on left-wing groups. There were absolutely no threat to the state. Here we have a situation where we have, and there's a concern obviously out there, the appointment of Drew Harris, his past involvement with MI5, the concern that people would have that is he still working for MI5, those that he has brought in with him as his so-called team, do they still continue to work with MI5? Where will our information be going? We've had history with the HSC in terms of hackers. There's a huge amount of information out there that the people need to be given, and I, for one, would be very, very opposed. And they can dress it up all they want in terms of your man. What was his name? That murder case.
Dwyer.
Dwyer, and that whole drawn out case, and that's something that I know myself personally that affected me.
Yeah, but his case wasn't a threat to the security of the state, so I don't see the relationship there. I just want to bring everyone in, and I'll come back to you if I have time. But just to quote Miss McEntee, I made an application for an order having assessed the threat to the security of the state and have satisfied myself that there exists a serious and genuine present or foreseeable threat to the security of the state, and that such a threat is likely to continue for at least 12 months. In doing so, I had regard to the necessity and proportionality of the retention of everybody's data and took account of the impact on the fundamental rights of individuals as required. This threat is so severe that even by her own words there, you can suggest that she believes that it's more important than the privacy and data rights of the citizens of this state. Mary Hart, what's your view?
Well, I'm as much in the dark as everybody else, I think, on what the state threat may be. I did read back on it that, I suppose the issue of Graham Dwyer, the state arm of the law did use the mobile phone information to run through the prosecution there, and then it was thrown out. So there's that issue that that maybe that piece of information should be allowed to be used in court. We don't know how you can get around that. Bear in mind that mobile phone companies are obliged, and as are all internet companies anyway. That's what we call data centers. They hold all the information anyway. It's just whether the government can get access to it or not. But this is how they could get Graham Dwyer the information, because they challenged and they got the information. So I think from my memory, if it serves me correctly, is that data is held for 5 years in a data center anyway. So when you make a phone call and you send a text, that goes somewhere and it stays there. But we've got to just believe that, social media is a fierce arm now that we are well unaware of. 10, 20 years ago, we did not foresee the threat that social media and those media platforms, that they can fake, set up a fake account and start pushing people, targeting them, as we've seen how it happened with Brexit, how it happened with Trump. Facebook was used as a tool of like the propaganda tool of the modern era. And people believe what they read on social media as being the truth, and not a single
what's your views on what the minister's done, Mary, though?
Can we come back to that as I just get a quick word from Leonard? Because even if you switch off all of your location data in Google, you turn off your privacy in Apple, this will allow the government, they've told they will be able to retain who you text, who you called, the context of those texts, where you were at any given specific time, using location data off telecommunication towers, not you having your location data on the phone. So this gives them a very deep reach into the movements and communications of every person in this state for the reasons we don't know. Like, as I say, there's no reference to Dwyer in this. She says it's because the threat to this state is so real that it overrides people's rights to their data privacy. Leonard, what do you say?
Yeah, well, Joe, as Mary said, and I'm sure Neil Cobb knows too, we can't be that naive to think that our data has been stored and it's been collected and harvested by companies out there. But the only thing, like Greg, you were chatting about this yesterday, and listening, like me on a personal basis, I don't try to hide anything on social media or that there. That doesn't bother me. And in the case of Graham Dwyer and even the Oma bombing, that I would have actually no issue with proper policing doing their job. No, not on about lazy policing by just trying to figure out who was in the area today. Proper policing to actually bring people to justice for crimes committed.
Yes, but the Dwyer case, the Dwyer case was not a threat to the security of the state.
Well, we keep referencing
not in the terminology she's using. We keep
but as I'm saying, she needs to come out now. As you say, Greg, this sounded very serious yesterday when they came out. So they need to come out and give us something to say, well, what is the threat? They don't have to go into full details, but there has to be something that's happened in the last couple of weeks or a couple of months that has made her go to there. So she needs to come out and give us something like.
Micheál, Colm.
I just think that, which I'm very, very, very concerned about, it's just this movement, and we've seen it right across Europe and right across, I suppose, a lot of the Western world, where governments are so much in control and looking to control society in terms of facial recognition, our movements, our food habits, our relationships, where kids are, our arguments, what our peers, what our parents, what our partners, and this whole control and it reflects very much, I suppose, if you look back right through from the 30s, 40s and 50s in terms of fascist states, the rise of fascism right across Europe, where, we have fascist governments right now in Italy, and now we have an extremely right-wing government in Dublin who are now moving to take more control of our private everyday living.
Okay.
And I believe very much that is not their right to know what I do or what I do not do.
30 seconds to you, Mary.
Well, I don't blame the governments. I mean, the people that are threats to the state are those people that are manoeuvring social media to suit themselves and to suit their agendas. And those are the people we have to be scared of, not the people we elected. Micheál, you're going to have to accept that when people swing a vote, they are electing the people that they believe they can trust. And otherwise, you shouldn't be standing for election because you don't believe in the system.
Well, we'll have to agree to
it. Obviously, I don't believe in the system because I'd love to see it overturned.
Come here, we're going to have to agree to disagree on this one. Listen, it's been a really really interesting conversation. Micheál Collum, thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it. Mary Hart, it's always a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you very much. And Leonard, great to see and hear from you again. Thanks for your input as always. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, take care. Thank you.
All right, okay. And we'll be back with more on the 9 till noon show, including a whole host of your comments after we take a break for the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show with the Lennon Festival Ramelton from the 6th to the 10th of July, featuring the talented Jimmy Buckley live on Sunday the 9th. Tickets are just €10 and pay at the gate.
If you know the beauty and skincare product that suits you best, you'll find them at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. From moisturisers, cleansers and toners to day creams and night creams, McGee's have the top brands you know and love, like Lancôme, Clarins and La Roche-Posay. Also Elizabeth Arden, Vichy, Nukes and many more. All at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, and online at mcgees.ie, where the best costs less.
Hurry, hurry! You really are running out of time to get down to your local Connolly's Volkswagen 232 sales event and claim your full SEAI grant for your new Volkswagen electric vehicle. After the 30th of June, the grant will reduce from €5,000 to €3,500. Order your new 232 today at Connolly's, Letterkenny, Sligo or Ballina.
Looking for a good night's sleep? Restex Beds has you covered. Located at Mountaintop, Letterkenny, they are the best in the northwest to get a quality bed or mattress. Come visit them today and wake up feeling rested and refreshed. Restex Beds, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. Government sources say they're considering evidence given to the Oireachtas Public Accounts Committee before finalising a review into corporate governance at RTE. Yesterday's hearing revealed large expenses for bringing commercial partners to events, including €111,000 on tickets and travel to the Rugby World Cup in Japan. Terms of reference for an external review could go to Cabinet as early as today, but sources say they're now examining extra information provided to the committee. Senator Ronan Mullen has moved a motion in the Seanad to cap the pay at the national broadcaster.
We have to look at this. I mean, we've been told for years, this is the market and we'll lose them and so on. I think all that has to be tested. We are a relatively small media market in Ireland. You can't get away from the fact that you are talking about taxpayers' money, no matter how pay is structured in the national broadcaster.
Well, a state broadcaster is very much needed, but the public needs to have more of an input into it. That's according to Councillor Micheál Collum Asperg. He told the 9 till noon show this morning that the people must have a greater voice in the operation of the national broadcaster.
As much as I absolutely would 100% defend a state broadcasting network, but there has to be a way that we as the public are able to challenge it and that it's not left to the political classes dependent on those who are in government.
A Donegal County Councillor believes once again Donegal is missing out as the HSE has confirmed there are no plans to develop a day hospital to support the child and adolescent mental health service in the county. Councillor Jerry McMonigal says there are significant gaps in the CAMHS service in Donegal and that additional facilities are needed. He says parents are anxious to get a day hospital up and running. Councillor McMonigal says while other organisations are providing support, much more is needed.
There's a lot of good services going on, but I think what's missing is the CAMHS Day service hospital, and I think that should be looked at, and I asked them to look at that again, and maybe sometime in the future we could have one located in Donegal.
The Garda Commissioner has appealed to the public for assistance in locating a man missing following an incident in the Slieve League and Killybegs area last weekend. Searches have been ongoing in the area of the cliffs since Monday, but yesterday Gardaí and the Garda Water Unit began searches at Teelan Pier. Access to Slieve League remains closed off today. A man in his mid-60s, originally from Northern Ireland, is understood to have been the victim of a serious assault in the area over the weekend. Drew Harris says the investigation could be upgraded to murder.
What I can assure people is that that investigation has been appropriately resourced for the seriousness of the offence which we believe has happened, and in effect then it can be upgraded to a murder investigation if necessary, really at any time. But I'm satisfied identified. There's the appropriate work going on in terms of witness, scene, and also suspects in respect of that investigation.
Minister Josepha Madigan is in Donegal today. The Minister of State at the Department of Education will visit Dromore National School in Killygordon later this morning to see the July provision services. The North's Attorney General has reversed an earlier decision not to hold a fresh inquest into the killing of Tyrone councillor Patsy Kelly in July 1974. The decision has been welcomed by West Tyrone MP Orla Begley. Donald Kavanagh has more.
Patsy Kelly was an independent nationalist member of Omagh District Council. In the early hours of July 24th, 1974, he was returning home from work at a bar in Trillick when he disappeared. His body was found in a lake in Fermanagh 3 weeks later after it floated to the surface. He had been shot a number of times. He was 35. Orla Begley says this is the right decision given the damning findings in a police ombudsman report on Patsy Kelly's abduction, the levels of cover-up and collusion involved, and the RUC's failure to properly investigate this brutal murder. She praised the Kelly family, whom she said have campaigned for almost 5 decades with courage and determination to uncover the truth.
Weather now today will be humid and mostly cloudy with scattered outbreaks of rain and drizzle. Highest temperatures of 16 or 17 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning. The obituary notices for this Friday morning, June the 30th. The death has taken place of Cora McGettigan, née Embleton, New Line Road, Letterkenny, reposing at her late residence, house strictly private. Cora's requiem mass will be held in St Junan's Cathedral, Letterkenny at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, which can be viewed live on churchservices.tv, followed by burial in the family plot in New Leck Cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of wish to the Friends of Letterkenny University Hospital, care of Pascal Blake, funeral director. The death has occurred of Maurice Foley, 2 Churchview, Rossgear, Lifford, reposing at the family home. Funeral from the family home tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock for requiem mass at 1:30 in St Patrick's Church, Murlock, followed by interment in St Columba's Churchyard, Donnyloob. Family time please from 11 o'clock tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. The death has occurred of Kieran Call, 136 Waterville Crescent, Dundalk, County Louth, and formerly of Emmyvale, County Monaghan, and son of Hugh and Myra Call, Portnabla and Carrigard, Donegal. Kieran's remains will repose at Emmyvale today from 2 o'clock until 9 o'clock. Funeral mass tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock in St Patrick's Church, Coracrin, followed by private cremation at Lakelands Crematorium, Cavan. Family time please tomorrow morning. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu to North Louth Hospice, care of Peter McMahon, McMahon's Funeral Home, Emmyvale, or any family member. Kieran's funeral mass will be streamed live on mcnmedia.tv. The death has taken place in Hartlepool, England, of Cyril White, formerly of 4 Swilly View, Letterkenny. His remains will be reposing at his late residence, 4 Swilly View, today from 2 until 10 o'clock. Funeral from there at 1:15 tomorrow afternoon for 2 o'clock service in Cornwall Parish Church, with burial afterwards in Old Leck Cemetery. The death has occurred of Nellie Harley, Lochanuir, Johnny William, formerly of Tully. Her remains are reposing at her own home in Lochanuir. Rosary tonight at 9 o'clock. Funeral mass tomorrow morning in the Star of the Sea Church, Annagry at 10 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place of Mary Barr, née McQuaid, Lekamy, Moville. Mary's remains are reposing at her home. Funeral mass will take place tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock in St Columba's Church, Ballinacray, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only. Donations if desired to the Carndonagh Community Hospital Patients Comfort Fund, care of Liam Collins, funeral director. The death has occurred of Jim McLaughlin, the General, Cockhill Road, Buncrana, County Donegal. Jim's remains will be reposing at his home today from 12 noon until 10 o'clock. Funeral tomorrow morning, leaving at 10:15, going to St Mary's Church, Cockhill, for funeral mass at 11 o'clock, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral can be viewed on churchservices.tv. The death has occurred of Margaret Edmondson, née Porter, Drumboy Lifford, reposing at her daughter Blanet Porter's home, the Haw, Churchtown, Carrigans. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:15 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Murlock, Lifford at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Wake private to family and friends only, please. Family time from 10 o'clock until 11 o'clock. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. And the death has occurred of Madeline Boyd, née Dunleavy, Kilcashel, Lockworth Point, Ardra. Remains reposing at her late residence at Kilcashel, Lockworth Point. Funeral service at her late residence this afternoon at 1 o'clock, followed by burial in Kilcashel Cemetery. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
You always knew you'd get a great steak in Aldi. Now you know you get the best steak in the country. Aldi's specially selected dry-aged Black Angus ribeye steaks have won Ireland's first ever Diamond Taste Award at the International Taste Institute Awards. And they're just $13.99 for two. Plus 2-star awards for strip loin steaks, $5.69 for two. And a 2-star award for specially selected Black Angus strip loin steaks, just $9.99 for two. All from Aldi, Ireland's most reputable supermarket.
Text or WhatsApp your view to Greg on 086 60 25,000.
And you're very welcome back to Friday's 9 till noon show. Good morning if you are after joining us. You missed an interesting first hour of the show where we heard from Mary Hart, Leonard Watson, Councillor Micheál Colm Aspeg, and now on to the really important communications, those that have come in from you. On a matter of profound change, the Irish people should have a say in the form of a referendum on mass immigration. Can Ireland say no? There's interesting moves ongoing in Europe in that regard at the moment, where they're refining what's going to happen go forward. We have an option to opt in or opt out, and to this point we haven't opted in. We'll talk about that a little bit more as the story progresses. Hi Greg, DFOBS was wanting the government to hand the collection of the TV licence to the Department of Revenue. You know what that means. If we don't buy a TV licence, the Revenue can send the bailiff or sheriff in. Another, we have no accountability in this country. Do you remember all the tribulations, all those scandals, how many lost jobs or jailed? Do you remember the banking scandal years ago? Where was the financial regulator? Why was no one jailed like Iceland? The Children's Hospital, who granted that contract to that contract? When we, the common people, knew that he never completed his job in time or on price. People should be ashamed for not insisting over the years that heads should roll and lots be jailed. Another, whoever is held accountable in Ireland, who is ever held accountable in Ireland? Nobody. Who was held accountable for the smear test scandal? Well, that's another story. Sometimes you're elevated to greater positions, even if you're involved in a scandal. In 2004, says this listener, the Irish people decisively rejected immigration in a referendum. How did that go? Another, good morning, Greg. All focus is on RTE at the moment. I would like to highlight something I heard on the Joe Duffy show some months ago. Apparently, we've been blocked from finding out what pay individual TDs are receiving. This is also a public money and should be available to the public to analyse. It's very suspicious when information like this suddenly ceases to be available. It's just not acceptable if this information is not available to any of us anymore. Well, it's not. It is freely available. You have their incomes and their expenses are available annually, as is their, and this is what we're going to see in RTE now, a register of interests as well. So you can go in and find out what interests they have in terms of property ownership, on companies, whether they rent houses or own houses. There is quite a lot of information out there as it relates to TDs. That hasn't been withdrawn, so I'm not sure exactly what you're referencing there. The big wages in RTE go to the biggest spoofers. Ignoring your conscience comes at a price. Same for TDs, believes the listener. Another, tell Mary Hart that the problem with the TDs is they are not not standing up or speaking for the people who voted them in. They promised us at the doors they will do this and that, but once they get elected, they turn their backs on all. That's one person's view there. RTE never had public accountability or answerability. I have a complaint to them about omitting coverage on an important All-Ireland child protection issue. Highland and many other radio and media outlets covered that, but they blatantly ignored it. Why is the Garda not called in to investigate? Well, that was put to some of the witnesses in the Oireachtas yesterday. They were questioning if some of these practices were illegal that required a Garda investigation. No one really took them on. But when the word fraud or defraud was used, it makes you wonder if that Garda investigation might be launched at some point to look into what's going on. It's a myth that we get balanced reporting on public services. They play to the piper and omit or minimally cover important news like defective concrete, water, Section 32, Mary Boyle, parental alienation, and so on. I watched yesterday's proceedings and heard Alan Kelly say that he was getting hundreds of emails and texts from staff in RTE asking him to question the directors about all the cars given to senior staff. It seems the lower paid staff are delighted to now have the opportunity to spill the beans on their oppressors. I think a lot more will be revealed as this inquiry progresses. I think what's happening is though there's an awful lot of contractors who do outside deals. You will see familiar faces like there's a woman that works for RTE at the moment, and she's also the face of Centra, I believe, and advertising wine and what have you. That's outside deals. A lot of these cars, what would be interesting is if someone has a deal with a car manufacturer if they work in current affairs, because I was under the impression, and they apply here too, I can't advertise something, for an example, so I can't go over to production there and do an advert because I work in current affairs, you see. So I don't know how all that works. All media is either state-owned or by the select few, says this listener. Most people are not listening to mainstream media anymore. They get their info elsewhere because RTE, the BBC, all are as bad now as the Chinese or Russian state TV. Complete bias and their agenda being pushed. Everyone who has access to internet knows this. That is why there is now such a oust in Canada, New Zealand, Ireland, etc. are doing their best to block it. Another, I think there should be a protest like the water charges and scrap the TV licence fee. It's a disgrace, and a lot of people can't afford to pay the licence. Another here, can we stop all this hard-working journalism in RTE talk? One journalist covers 5 stories a year. The Young Scientist shows teachers' conference leaving certain CEA points. No sign of the rest of that journalist for the rest of the year. Hello, Greg. Please ask Micheál Colm how much public funds will be wasted replacing the signs in West Donegal and the red spray. Of course, I don't have much time for RTE or Ryan Tubridy, but there is so much controversy around this whole RTE thing. I think about the girl waiting 5 years for the scoliosis operation. No public account meeting for her. It's a joke. So much hypocrisy. Politicians delighted about the whole RTE debacle. It takes attention off them for a while, says a listener. Another, I think that people should say some heads have to roll for this, including those who don't know what their wages are. Anyone or any organisation that gets public funding should have their wages and expenses published weekly. RTE has become a shameless vehicle for peddling the latest government fetish for all things global and, by extension, all things anti-sovereign and any, be it climate change, trans issues, you name it, they play it. Hi, Greg. The aircon's on. It's blowing my comments off. Hi, Greg. It's sad to say, but I tell my 3 kids every night when they come home and when they're all qualified, get the hell out of this country because, Greg, it's finished big time. The only thing is these types of controversies are not exclusive to this part of the world, if the truth be told. Why, Greg, is nobody mentioning the licence? Surely as a gesture to the public, we don't pay it for a year. People should not pay it. What can they do? Well, you see, the government would pay them anyway. So even if it didn't come out of your pocket directly, because it is a state-funded organisation, it would come out of taxpayers' money, which is you, again, anyway. So I don't see... That might make us feel better, but it doesn't save us any money as such, because that would be clawed back through another tax down the line. Government are not right-wing. The government are not right-wing. Did you not say left-wing? I don't know. I get confused with all those wings anyway. A caller says, I've cancelled my direct debit for the TV licence. Those Public Accounts Committee hearings were shocking. No accountability. Nobody taking responsibility for huge sums of our money being spent on the sly. On frivolous things to benefit the already well-off. That entire board needs sacked, not allowed to resign. Sacked. Maybe once this process... Although the incoming Director General says that he is going to... shuffle up that executive board. The structure of it is really quite confusing. Why have Revenue and the Gardaí not been asked to go in and investigate RTE? Well, Revenue is investigating RTE, and they've already paid out €1.2 million of your money because of bogus self-employed contracts. They have already put aside many, many more millions to be paid to revenue because of these bogus contracts. They are also pursuing and looking into now whether or not paying this money, which is not subject to VAT, to a UK company, and then it being returned to people working for the for the TV station and radio station in RTE in Ireland, whether all the tax was paid on that money. So there is an investigation there. Revenue will have a great interest in that. Gardaí, at some point, I expect, will investigate whether or not the public was defrauded, would be my expectation there. TV licence is going to have to go. No one's going to pay it after this fraud. I think lots will. I think some won't. I think lots will, though. Greg, the way to solve the RTE saga is to close the station. Don't think they have a big following anyway, unless the news... Well, they have significant listenership. There's no doubt about it. In the likes of the Northwest, you'd probably have... just to give you a breakdown, roughly probably about 70 to 80% of people that listen to radio in Donegal listen to Highland, about 18% listen to RTE Radio 1, and about 6 or 7% to 2FM. So people in the Northwest generally tend to listen to Highland. I'm not saying that in a boastful way. I'm just telling you, because we see the figures, we can tell you that it's around 70-80% listen to Highland, at about 18-19% to RTE1, and 6 or 7% odd to 2FM daily. So if that justifies their existence or not, I'm not sure. Right, I don't want to keep going on listening to my voice, so what I'll do is I will read the rest of those comments just as this morning wears on. But I know many of you are waiting for those bingo numbers, so here they are.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Friday, the 30th of June. You're playing on the yellow sheet. The reference number is S10. It's game number 26. The numbers are 50, 24, 70, 56, 63, 29, 2, 27, 14, and finally 8. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Summer reductions on your favourite brands at Brian McCormick Sports, Brooks and Asics with 20% off. Check in-store and online. Brooks Glycerine and Adrenaline 22 GTS save 20%. Asics Keanu 29, Asics GT 2011 save 20%. Get ready for the summer and save 20% off your favourite kids' Asics trainers. Look the part, play the part. In-store and online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
Hurry, hurry! You really are running out of time to get down to your local Connolly's Volkswagen 232 sales event and claim your full SEAI grant for your new Volkswagen electric vehicle. After the 30th of June, the grant will reduce from €5,000 to €3,500. Order your new 232 today at Connolly's, Letterkenny, Sligo or Ballina.
The groom goes free. The groom goes free. Yes, you heard it. The Groom's Room. Evolve Clothing, Letterkenny Retail Park. The groom goes free. Call in today. Terms and conditions apply.
The 9 till noon show with the Lennon Festival Ramelton from the 6th to the 10th of July. Save the date and gather your friends for an incredible lineup featuring Sharon Shannon, ABBA Sensations and Jimmy Buckley.
Right, you're welcome back to the programme. Councillor Nicholas Crossan joins us on it now. Good morning to you, Councillor. Thanks for taking the call.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, now, you have concerns about the traffic, both human and vehicular, at Buncrana Pier. What's the problem as you see it?
Well, it's kind of a hardy perennial. This time, Greg, it comes with the good weather that there's a group of youths come down to the pier in Buncrana, some on the bus, some travelling by car. And we have a few issues down there. The pier is fairly narrow, so there's a queue of cars waiting to get on the ferry. And when the ferry comes in, there's a queue of cars coming off the ferry, which is a danger to people walking about. The issue is it's the mouth of the Mill River. It's not the best. It wouldn't be my favourite spot in Buncrana to go swimming on, and there's a sewage treatment plant nearby. So, but more or less, it's a public awareness society to divert people from that particular place for swimming and send them to some of the nice, beautiful beaches that we have around and around Buncrana.
Yeah, but I presume they want to jump off the pier. That's
well,
the crack,
yes, that seems to be the attraction. But like I was out recently at Ned's Point, a fort which is a mile on the other side of Buncrana, and there's a slipway down there, exactly the same purpose. Lovely, clean, fresh water, great spot down there. Plenty of parking and round it. You're not disturbing anybody. Like sometimes the RNLI go down. Sorry, not the RNLI are parked down there. And sometimes if they're called out, the guys are down there. It's a hurry. They have to get parked quickly. I know there's a reserved spots for them, but I mean, like if there's people on the water, it's a delay for them to get out past that. If it's low tide, they have to manoeuvre to get out. There's various aspects. It's not a suitable spot for swimming. They're coming down, they drink with. There's drink down at the pier, which is breaking the bylaws in Buncrana. There's no drinking in public places in Buncrana, and there should be no drinking down there. There's broken glass. People walk around in the summertime in their bare feet and getting injuries. So there's an awful lot of issues we have that could be, if anybody wanted to have a good time in Buncrana, go swimming, is to go to the sandy beach.
So, are you looking for it then to be discouraged or outlawed, like with signage and what have you?
Discouraged would be a good word, Greg, to use. I'm not saying like don't go in there. I know you're saying that there's the proper way to go down there. The fun of jumping off the pier and getting up the steps again. But it's a danger. There's an awful lot of concrete down there. There's a pier built over 200 years. You know, it's just... If they knew the history of it, there are pleasure boats, not that wild many. There's an odd fishing boat coming. So the pier's used. So it shouldn't be used for swimming. I'm saying
I know what you're saying, but I mean, you can go to Mullinasole, you can go to Mount Charles, you can go to Cranford, you can go to Downings, you can go to Port Salam, Rathmullen, and so on and so on. And the in a way, the pier is sort of like the heart of the community when the sun's out for jumping off and swimming and coming up the steps.
And most of those.
Like, why is it a particular problem in Buncrana then?
Well, all of those places you've mentioned, bar one, has no ferry going in and out of it. Rathmullen Pier is a different pier completely. Where they go swimming on Rathmullen Pier is on the other side of where the ferry is. It's a narrow pier. Buncrana is a very narrow pier, and it's very dangerous for the ferry in low tides. And that's what I'm asking them to discourage. And it wouldn't be the cleanest place in Buncrana to swim in as well. It wouldn't be, as I said earlier on, it wouldn't be my favourite spot. Nor I would say very few people from Buncrana actually go swimming in there. So you're on the mouth of the Mill River. So I would try and discourage people. I wouldn't tell them not to swim there, try and discourage them. But it's certainly when they go down there that they have a bit of responsibility, and there should be social awareness. And you can't have antisocial behaviour down there when there's children waiting to get on a ferry. So that's more or less what I'm trying to say, Greg.
And you raised this issue at a recent council meeting. You had the backing of other councillors as well. So what happens next then? I mean, I don't know if it was emotional or if it was just concerns you were raising, but did the executive give you any assurances or any feedback as to what can be done or what might be done?
Yes, they were talking that regarding the saying that we could put up signage like they have on other beaches, no jet skis. Within the limits.
That's a bylaw situation, though. You see, isn't it? That's
but different. We have bylaws for no drinking. My biggest fear down there's people drinking down there, jumping off, fooling. If you're fooling down on a beach and somebody pushes you, fall the height of yourself. Down there, you could fall 10 or 15 feet into the water. You could hit your head on concrete. It's not a safe environment to go swimming. It's not the cleanest place to go swimming. And there's antisocial behaviour on it. So that is what I'm trying to discourage. And the guards were called, and fair play to Councillor Donaghy, who was down last with Tidy Towns last weekend, tidying the place up afterwards. You know, it's not fair on that, cleaning up the broken glass. People go down and they get a few beers and then start breaking glass. Sure, Greg, it's the antisocial aspect as much as anything else.
Yeah, and I suppose the image I mean, if I'm reading between the lines here, what you're saying is a lot of the people that would be down there drinking and jumping and what have you aren't actually from Buncrana, yet when people come across on the ferry and disembark or arrive there to head off, that is the sort of imagery that is associated with Buncrana.
Well, the first impression goes a long way. So the first impression you go down, if there's people walking around or maybe changing or from bathing costume into their own clothes or whatever the case may be, people sitting on the pier drinking, cars parked nilly-willy across the pier that people are finding it difficult to get off the ferry, standing looking at the ferry coming in when cars are coming off. All these issues add up, and that's what we're trying to do, is to discourage people. Use the pier for what it's used for: boating, for the RNLA, for pleasure cruise, or for the ferry to come in and out. It's not for swimming or antisocial behaviour.
Councillor Nicholas Crossan, thank you very much indeed. What are your views out there? 086 60 25,000. Do you concur with Councillor Crossan and some fellow councillors, or do you want to see this practice of young people enjoying themselves, albeit according to some dangerously and in an intoxicated way, at Buncrana Pier? What have your say is what I'm saying here. Right, now we have another family pass to give away in association with Eclipse Cinema and Walt Disney Studios. We're giving away a family pass today to the movie premiere of Disney Pixar's latest movie. It is Elemental. It's in Eclipse Cinemas on Wednesday, the 5th of July. This is a full 2 days before the general release, so this is your opportunity to get along to a bona fide premiere. You can get dressed up as your favourite Disney character, just prepare yourself for the red carpet, whatever it might be. We'll have plenty of popcorn and treats in store for all who make the premiere to make that experience all the more special. So if you want to be in with a chance to win a family pass, now that's a flexible family pass, we'll work with you on that. All we're inviting you to do with your child, or if you're the child with your mum and dad or whomever it is responsible for you, send a WhatsApp video or voicemail to our WhatsApp number. It's 086 60 25,000, and all you have to do is tell us why your family should win a place. The winner will be announced at the end of this show. Just to let you know that Disney Pixar's Elemental opens in cinemas on July 7th. So we have a pass on this show, but also to let you know, Around the Northwest is coming from Creasler after this show, and they also have a cinema pass up for grabs as well. So text in your video or text in your audio to 086 60 25,000 telling us why you should win that pass.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with the Lennon Festival Remelton from the 6th to the 10th of July, bringing you the super talented Sharon Shannon on Friday the 7th. See Lennon Festival Remelton on Facebook for ticket information.
Amal tusa ólach fui Irecht Maheran, má sha tugan a chorla Irecht a cuiridit, fe mar chuid durin Irecht na scolna. Is transgana véisha a hugan desh a specialtóri Ireachta, tríoch na Ireachta a roinch le páistí bunscola is stiag agus taven with an Dromaranga. Cuirimid fáilte rih iritish specialtóri Ireachta the gachais. A go hóratha daoine le hólas an Irecht hóca, ahrú ráide nó cailtanas beheagsúlacht, agus daoine le taithí ag obair le páistí. Sé an taine lás tríocha de bhí úl an sprochdata. Tá tuile ólas ag Heritage in Schools.ie.
New this week at Home Store and More. All outdoor cushions are all half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price outdoor cushions are gone, they're gone. Also, all photo frames, all wetsuits and summer toys, and all outdoor heating are still all half price. But when all the half price photo frames, wetsuits and summer toys, and outdoor heating are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More, or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. New store now open in Frascati Centre, Blackrock, Dublin. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Foyleside, at the centre of more for your euro, with great value gifts. So it's worth making the journey wherever you live. With convenient parking, late nights and all your favourite brands, you're better off shopping at Foyleside. See foyleside.co.uk.
Buddy the Musical is back at the Millennium Forum from Tuesday 8th till Saturday 12th of August. Don't miss this multi-award-winning West End and Broadway smash hit musical. This is a show you'll never forget. Come and join the party. It's just Peggy Superb. Call the ticket hotline on 02871 264455 or visit millenniumforum.co.uk.
All right, we mentioned this a couple of times during the week. This is the move from the EU taking its first significant step towards launching a digital version of the euro, a controversial project that's been questioned by politicians and banks. From China to the United States, Jamaica to Japan, more than 100 central banks worldwide are exploring or preparing to put in place digital currencies as electronic payments grow, changing the way people spend their money. Professor Brian Lucy is a professor at Trinity Business School and joins us on the programme now. Professor, thank you for your time.
Not at all. Good morning.
Right, Brian, what do these proposals actually look like, and how likely are they to come, in your view, into reality?
So what they're proposing really is to have, think of it in the simplistic way of the European Central Bank acting a little bit like Stripe or Visa or PayPal or any of those financial intermediaries. If you go down to get a cup of coffee and a roll for lunch, probably now you're as likely to tap and go as you are to pay cash. So when you tap your bank card or your phone or your smartwatch or your glasses or whatever smart device you have, basically the background plumbing of that is done through Visa or Visa Debit or through Stripe or somebody like that, or Pay and Go or SumUp. We're all familiar with these. In effect, what would happen here is that the European Central Bank would be stepping in and acting in a very similar way. Now, there's more complications than that, but from the perspective of the individual user, it would be essentially the same as using a tap and go card or your Google Pay or your Apple Pay or whatever it would be. Mm-hmm. Now, how that would work in the background is that the ECB would effectively you would have a wallet on your phone or on your smart device, or you would add it presumably to an existing wallet, and you would have a balance in there which you could use. So from the perspective of the retail user, either the shop or the cinema, you were talking about, cinema passes earlier on, or the individual person purchasing their diesel, really would have no major difference to what you would do now.
Yeah, but they're creating a solution to a problem that's already been solved from a consumer's perspective, which makes then the consumer very suspicious of really what the motivation is.
Well, it's probably less from the perspective of the consumer, perhaps, than the retailer. We call them retailers. It would be a more instantaneous payment for the retailer. So, it would be done in an instant rather than done in a couple of days through settlement. But yeah, it very much is a case of stepping into an area which is already well populated. Now, competition is good, but the question has to be asked as to, why this, why now? And to some extent, I think it's a case of ensuring the stability of the infrastructure. If you have this facility, then you know that it's under the control ultimately of the issuer of money. Right now, if for whatever reason, let's say PayPal and Stripe, took the hump, and Visa and said, well, we're not dealing with the European Union, or we're not dealing with the state of Hungary, for whatever reason, commercial entities, they could presumably do what they want, then, that would cause a significant amount of disruption.
It would, but if that were me, say I took the hump with Stripe, I could go to Revolut. Or if I took the hump with Revolut, I could go to the next. If this is a centralised, EU-controlled system, there won't be an alternative or a competition to it. So that puts all the power...
No, there will be. I mean, they're not saying you have to use this. They're not going to enforce this as this is the only way. I mean, this will simply be an option that will be there for people to use. If they wish. If they don't, they don't. It's not a case of the ECB saying, Stripe, Revolut, SumUp, Visa, thank you, goodbye, we don't want you in Europe anymore. It's simply saying there's another option here which is probably slightly faster for everybody to use. In the same way as right now, if I go downstairs and, I put €20 across the table, that €20 is there instantaneously. It's an instantaneous form of payment. Now, there have been instantaneous forms of central bank mediated payments around the world for some considerable time. The Japanese, the Nigerians have been doing this for a long time. It has been less in the form of using a digital wallet and more in the form of using the traditional kind of fintech that we are used to, through the the tap and go type systems. So this is simply an alternative. It's an option. It's there to be used if people want to.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
if they don't have to.
I get where you're coming from, and initially they're talking about having a cap of 3,000 initially, but there are people concerned that this could move forward. Is this another nail in the coffin of cash?
Well,
or coins at the very least, maybe.
There are definitely trends around in terms of, people using less cash. That's happening globally. Across the world, cash is declining as a percentage of transactions in every country at a slower or faster pace, depending, but it's certainly the case that cash is no longer as dominant as it was. It's still a very large, and in some countries it's still the largest form of payment, and it has the advantage of being, there and instant and untraceable, etc. Undoubtedly, there are elements in every government that would like to be able to track more easily people's, spending and payment habits. That's something that I think in the European context is going to take an enormously long lead time to put in place. Germany in particular is fanatically in favour of personal privacy around digital issues. So I think it would take a huge change for a Euro-wide panopticon, as it were, of spending evaluation. Now, that said, the more that something goes through the central bank, the government, the more chance they have of tracking it if they want to. But people who think that, their activities are anonymous and untraceable, are living in a fantasy world. I mean, the reality is if they want to know what you're doing, they know what you're doing.
Yep, certainly in this country now with the most recent High Court order. Right, okay, Professor...
Well, in every country.
Yes, of course.
In every country.
Yeah,
if
most of us don't opt out of it either.
Well, my view has always been that if the Five Eyes really are that interested in my online browsing, they've little to be doing.
Yeah, no, but that's the same with me also, I have to say, and I've said that on the programme not too long ago.
Exactly.
Professor Brian Lucy,
yes,
thank you very much. I nearly elevated you to the priesthood. Take care, Brian. Thanks very much indeed. Okay, he's a professor at Trinity Business School. All right, more and more of your comments coming in here. Thank you for those. Could you ask Councillor Crossan what the long-term plan for traffic management is for Buncrana? There is no bypass or plans for... some of the traffic is chaos and makes Letterkenny look like a well-oiled machine. I haven't ever heard too much about traffic issues in Buncrana. Greg, I was watching the RTE crowd being questioned yesterday. The face of the financial controller when asked what pay he gets was a picture, but had to give it. Definitely wasn't doing his job. One minister said Ryan had taken them to the cleaners now for ruining his reputation by taking him off the radio show. Taxpayers caught out again. That was a strange intervention from that lady in that there is probably going to be a court case, but she was for 10 minutes, she persisted with this, are you going to resign for leaving RTE open to compensation of millions? It kept on and on and on and on and at it. The purpose of a financial controller is to control the finances in RTE. They don't know what the word means. Unbelievable and a joke. Tell Nicholas Crossan they made a mess of the pier with the railings for the ferry they put up. He should be talking about this instead of talking about people having fun. Do your job, Nicholas. Greg, Helen McEntee, as Minister for Justice, has brought in a new law regarding phone tapping and another new one, the new hate speech, which is worrying. Another, I've complained many times to RTE about annoying background music they play, even if it's a serious topic. Can't hear a word the presenter is saying. It's so annoying. Hi, Greg. I heard that employees of RTE got free tickets to rugby concerts, football matches, food, drink in the Cake Club. Is this a joke? The government needs to act on this at the moment. ESB bills are like a mortgage. Another joke. Well, what it was is the person who's in charge of dealing with advertisers had access to this fund to wine and dine them. So she would organise trips to rugby to the World Cup. Presumably this is the norm, I'm told. And this is to induce them or entice them to take out advertising. Now, of course, we will get a list of who went on them. How many of them were staff? How many of them were clients? I don't know. Another, RTE is government-owned and nothing will ever come of this investigation. Yes, someone will take the fall with a big payoff. 100% agree. I wouldn't go swimming off Buncrana Pier. 100% rotten, they say. Greg Rathmullen Pier is the same. The amount of young ones that jump off the pier, and there is a strong current at that pier too. I'm skipping a little bit between topics here. Back to the one about the digital currency. China and Canada have digital currencies. This means another movement to end cash. Think on Canada, when the truckers went on strike, they shut off their access to their bank. Think on China, example, when the people of the village want to get a train ticket to get a protest to a bank closes and the loss of their money, their access to travel was prevented. When you have no cash, you have nothing. China, Nigeria are not happy, but again, the media is not reporting it. This is a nail in the coffin of freedom. Government will know exactly what, where and how much you spend. That is if you choose to avail of that service. They're saying at the moment that it'll be a choice.
The 9 till noon show with the Lennon Festival Ramelton from the 6th to the 10th of July. Experience the incredible ABBA sensations on Saturday the 8th. For ticket information, see Lennon Festival Ramelton on Facebook.
At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, we are now operating out of one new state-of-the-art showroom in Donegal Town. And we invite you to visit our new 5,000 square foot Donegal Town showroom to discover the latest eye-catching designs. Remember, at Cherrymore, you're dealing directly with the manufacturer, which means high-quality kitchens at factory prices. Start planning your dream kitchen or bedroom by calling Cherrymore on 074 9725 822. Cherrymore, 25 years delivering value, quality and service all over Ireland.
At Heron Auto Opel, we're half-full type of people, which is how we come up with the Opel 50/50 finance offer. Choose from the Opel Crossland, Corsa or Mokka. Select your flexible payment option, pair it with 3 years free servicing and meet your new other half. Discover more about Opel's 50/50 offer at the Opel Open Road event. See heronopel.ie for details. Finance is provided by way of a consumer hire purchase agreement by Bank of Ireland Finance. Lending criteria and conditions apply over 18s only. Ownership remains with Bank of Ireland until the final payment is made. Bank of Ireland trading as of Bank of Ireland Finance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
If you're tired and struggling to put a spring in your step, discover the power of Revive Active at your local Brennan's Pharmacy. Revive Active is an award-winning super supplement containing 26 active ingredients, including vitamin C, D and zinc, which support your immune system, all in one handy daily sachet. Made for busy, stressful lives, it's the convenient way to put back what life takes out. Enrich your life with Revive Active from Brennan'sPharmacy.com. We're here for you.
Fabric World's hot summer sale is now on. Over 5,000 metres of curtain and upholstery now half price or less. Lining from £1. Up to 20% of craft cotton. Hot discounts in our summer sandals and fashion department. And there's always fabulous Euro rates at Fabric World Maydown Derry.
All right, so we're learning today that last month, or it's this month actually, June provisionally is the hottest June on record. It's only over the last 83 years we actually know that, but anyway, it is the hottest on record ever. We are seeing, with difference in temperatures, warmer water than we might normally see. We're seeing mammals or animals in our waters that we might not normally see. We're seeing different types of birds coming. Some birds that are normally here at certain times not coming in the same numbers, or birds are arriving that we don't normally see here. So things are changing, and we can argue the toss as to why. But anyway, Professor Francis Lucy is head of the Department of Environment Science at ATU Sligo and joins us now. Professor, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yes, so we are seeing changes, aren't we? We're going to talk about one specific change, I suppose, but we are seeing changes right before our eyes in temperatures, but also then how that impacts the movement of creatures both in the sea and on land.
That's very true, and you know, the climate change is adding to the mix of our globalization, our change in the way we use our land and our water, and unfortunately, this is resulting in increased probability of spread of potentially nasty creatures in terms of human health. Now, I don't want to alarm people because the mosquitoes that bring West Nile fever are so far have only moved up as far as the Netherlands, but there is every probability that if our climate change escalates as much as it is, and it stays as warm, that some of these mosquitoes that are brought in accidentally or may come in on air patterns, mosquitoes that are already infected with the virus, could spread that to birds, or they may bite birds that come in here that are infected, and potentially we could have episodic West Nile fever occurring in Ireland.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in a moment, but about the movement of these mosquitoes. I mean, they are edging in our direction because of the way temperatures are changing, and I presume those temperature changes have to be, more sustained or long term rather than a particularly warm summer or winter.
That's right. I mean, really, we could, if we were to have established populations of these mosquitoes here, then we would need to have, sustained higher temperatures in the winter as well as in the summer. And you'll hear everybody, I mean, the old people have always said it, we're far healthier if we have a cold winter because it kills off all sorts of pests, rodents, pathogens. So yes, in the face of a really changed climate, we are definitely at risk of having, annual events of West Nile fever and possibly other.
But presumably mosquitoes moving outside of their traditional territory where the climate would allow, is that just a natural movement? Is it a survival technique? Are they pre-programmed to populate as much as they can, if you know what I mean? Why do they... When we talk about spread, we talk about natural spread, and we talk about, human mediated spread. So the introduction of West Nile fever to North America was obviously they weren't going to swim across the Atlantic or be carried across. It came in with human introductions, probably in somebody's suitcase or with plants or something like that. Whereas with us here in Ireland, there is a possibility that it could spread naturally because it's been found as far north as the Netherlands. So that's not a big jump to the UK and then, onwards to Ireland via air currents. So that is a possibility. More likely, unfortunately, like a lot of spread of invaders, that it would come in through globalization, through trade and travel of humans and goods. It's not just a threat to us, though. It's a threat to plant life, trees and what have you, when we are seeing things that we don't normally see. And there's been some recent examples of that. Absolutely. And I mean, it's had very high impact on bird populations in North America, and it could actually impact on mammals, horses, other animals, cattle. It has varying effects. Generally, a virus like this, a little bit like COVID, the worst impacts will be on those that are immunosuppressed, whether they're humans or animals, the weak, the very old, the very young. You've also been talking, finally, Professor, about the need for us to tighten our biosecurity. I mean, anyone who watches some of the more random satellite channels will see, border police in Australia or New Zealand or different countries whereby, you come in there with certain insects or meat or whatever. You might as well have landed with a suitcase full of cocaine, such as the efforts they go to protect their indigenous species and wildlife. Do we need to be taking that a little bit more seriously here, do you think? Thank you for the opportunity for this. We need to be very vigilant, not just for the introductions into the country, but also to the spread. So Highland Radio is covering a large catchment of people that are involved in boating, other aquatic sports, other events, and it's not, I would say anybody who is moving equipment or going hiking, they need to check, clean and dry their hiking boots, their boats, their waterproof clothing can carry seeds,
stuck to it. So please, if you're moving from A to B, particularly if you've been away hiking or boating or fishing and you're bringing that equipment back to Ireland, you need to check it, you need to clean it, you need to dry it. And really, if everybody did that and took personal responsibility for it, we would have less spread, because an awful lot of this spread is by one animal, i.e. humans. So
all right,
it's a personal responsibility. A lot of people blame, there's nobody checking at ports and airports, which is another, I could be here for another half an hour talking about that, but anybody who's listening, or you have people that that are going out, please, it's our own native ecosystems here, and we need to protect them because they're fragile, particularly due to climate change and other effects.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Professor Frances Lucy, who is Head of Department of Environmental Science at ATU in Sligo. Now, it's going to be unseasonably windy this weekend, we're told. It might be a beautiful weekend, I don't know. But anyway, be that as it may, I have a postponement for you. The Ramelton Country Market. They were going to have a seaside market on Sunday. It has been cancelled now. Sorry, it's been postponed. It's going to be taking place at a later date. So if you were going to go for that, go to that. You're going to have to wait to another date because it's going to be not nasty, but it's just not summery weather to be expected. You really couldn't make it up, read the Tubridy payment, says a listener. But then again, so much corruption in Ireland in all areas. Are we really surprised at all? Makes me sick when I think of Tubridy's last Late Show and the sickening phoning of him and him likely knowing about all of this to come. Well, that's another thing that happened over the last couple of days. The timeline as to when people may have known. D. Forbes knew well before the 16th, which was when quite suddenly Ryan Tubridy announced that he was stepping down for from the Late Show and got the Swan Song, which would not have happened, of course, if that news had broken at that time. It simply wouldn't have happened. I'm a member of a GEA club, and at every meeting, even an AGM, there is never ever bank accounts for members to see or be available. Is it not law? And all bank accounts should be available at every meeting, especially an AGM for all club members to see. I think this is where all the problems start. And although what is wrong with this country, no one will ever do anything unless there is an underpayment for them in it. We need to look at the laws which make acceptance of any cash for any job a jailing offence. So many have been caught but never faced any price for it. How many tribunals has this country had? And it's been nothing but a feeding court for solicitors and barristers. No one's actually held accountable. And let us not remember that there is a very important study, document, investigation into planning in this country, in this county, should I say, that was completed quite some time ago. And a number of housing ministers have been responsible for publishing it. I've asked a minimum of 3, maybe 4 housing ministers, are they going to publish this report into planning in Donegal? Each one has said, yes, I'm going to review it and we'll get it published. And still, whatever is in it, it's not being published. So, we shouldn't forget these things either, because we are right in the up to our necks in it as well. Why is that important? Really important inquest or inquiry not published. So much money was spent on it. So many questions possibly might be answered, but it's gathering dust on a shelf somewhere. And successive housing ministers have not seen fit to publish it. An open day to mark the opening of the Wheelhouse glamping site in Burton Port is taking place tomorrow between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Members of the public are welcome to come along to visit the site, which has 9 glamping pods overlooking Lacanau Lake. 5 people will be employed at the facility, which has been developed by local man John Riley, who was a guest on the Business Matters podcast recently. It's amazing how easily we are hoodwinked again. Everyone up in arms about the RTE debacle, and while all this is going on, the government is passing more restrictive and controlling laws to keep us in line. This type of carry-on in RTE is going on in many other places. Taxpayers' money, easy come, easy go. Hi Greg, talk about RTE. Just look what's happening within our government. The underhand situation we are in, deciding to withhold our own personal data. Also, our president is right. This government is secretly trying to work Ireland towards NATO. Not in my name or the majority of Irish citizens. We will not stand for this. They are trying to control our lives under the orders of Europe, believes that listener. If our semi-state broadcaster has all these lavish slush funds, then they don't need subsidised by the taxpayer, in my opinion. Decent point. This is just another way of controlling the people. Look at it whatever way you want, but this is what's taking place little by little. That could be relating to a number of issues we've talked about this morning. It's refreshing to hear Micheál Colm cop on that left-wing groups have infiltrated and steered to ensure zero threat to government. Sinn Féin springs to mind, they say. And on it goes. Listen, I've got through a good 60-70% of the comments, and I've dedicated much of this hour to them. But time is catching up on us, and it is that time of the week again whereby we take our foot off the pedal of serious stuff and slip into a gear of frivolity and nonsense and what have you. That's entertainment. Some serious stuff we talk about as well, like what show are you watching? 086 60 25,000. Get involved in that conversation. We have Fionnuala, the Highland Radio overlord, is currently on annual leave, so we have a sub in. I'm sure Fionnuala's listening to see how we're doing. Hi Fionnuala, if you are. Why are you listening to us rather than sunning yourself with a book? Anyway, if you are, say hello. Back after these.
The 9 till noon show with the Lennon Festival Ramelton from the 6th to the 10th of July, featuring the talented Jimmy Buckley live on Sunday the 9th. Tickets are just €10 and pay at the gate.
Do you live in an older home? Your house might have lead pipes, which may result in lead in your drinking water. It's important to replace them for you and your family's health. Grants of up to €5,000 are now available to help cover the cost of replacement. Apply for the Domestic Lead Remediation Grant Scheme today through your local authority. For more information, visit gov.ie/lead pipes. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Wake up, wake up. The Easy Living Furniture Summer Sale is on with up to 50% off all mattresses, pillows and mattress protectors, with a huge selection of mattresses that are exclusive to Easy Living Furniture and 0% interest-free finance available. Now is the perfect time to gift yourself the mattress of your dreams. Speak to one of our sleep specialists today. Summer sale now on with all mattresses reduced in Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park.
Evolve Clothing, biggest summer sale now on. Evolve Clothing, biggest summer sale now on. Evolve Clothing, biggest summer sale now on at Letterkenny Retail Park or evolveclothing.com.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Okay, it is 11 o'clock. Let's get a news update. Say good morning now to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The Taoiseach has said evidence at the Public Accounts Committee by RTE yesterday has raised questions about company law being followed. The broadcaster's Chief Financial Officer, Richard Collins, said in his view the public may have been defrauded by secret payments to Ryan Tubridy. He also told the committee the former Director General informed him the payments were consultancy fees for Ryan Tubridy's agent rather than direct payments. Well, a state broadcaster is very much needed, but the public needs to have more of an input into it. That's according to Councillor Micheál Colm Asperg. He told the 9 till noon show earlier that the people must have a greater voice in the operation of RTE. A Donegal County Councillor believes once again Donegal is missing out as the HSE has confirmed there are no plans to develop a day hospital to support the child and adolescent mental health service in the county. Councillor Jerry McMonigal says there are significant gaps in the CAM service in Donegal and that additional facilities are needed. The Garda Commissioner has appealed to the public for assistance in locating a missing man following an incident in the Slieve League and Killybegs areas last weekend. Searches have been ongoing in the area of the cliffs since Monday, but yesterday Gardaí and the Garda Water Unit began searches at Teelan Pier. Access to Slieve League remains closed off today. Garda forensic collision investigators are examining the scene of where a man died in a road crash in County Sligo. The motorcyclist, who was 8 in his 30s, was pronounced dead at the scene after his bike hit a car on the N16 at Glencar at around 8:30 last night. There's calls for talks on pharmacy services and fees to be fast-tracked. Donegal Deputy Thomas Pringle has told the Dáil that pharmacies across Donegal are the fabric of rural communities. He's urged the Taoiseach to give a commitment that discussions would take place shortly to allow for measures to address concerns of the IPU be put in place. And Minister Josepha Madigan is in Donegal today. The Minister of State at the Department of Education will visit Dromore National School in Killygordon this morning to see the July provision services. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
OK, Michaela, thank you very much indeed.
Summer is here, and that's why Super Value is making sure it's the summer of savings. Enjoy great offers like selected Persil pods, liquid and powder, only €7 each. Exclusive to Real Rewards members only. And money off vouchers every week on the app. For a summer of savings, it's got to be Super Value. T's and C's apply.
Entertainment. Dahi Ramsey, marketing manager of On Green on Theatre Letterkenny. Michael Leddy, writer and blogger. Good morning, dears. How are you?
Good morning.
Let's get microphones up. How are you getting on?
We're getting on the best.
Yeah,
I think so.
Good to have you back. Any word from Fionnuala? She's back next week, of course.
No, she's completely abandoned me. I'm so glad
friends
on the beach. Yeah, exactly. I'm so glad to see a familiar face just to help me get through this. This 2 weeks is rough. It's rough.
I am here for you.
Thank you very much, Greg.
Okay, no problem whatsoever. Glastonbury Dahi, you've it down on your list here. I didn't get to watch as much of it this year as last year. It's not because of my want, it was just I couldn't watch much of it. How do you rate it? Did you watch it?
I didn't think it was as good as previous years.
Right.
I thought the coverage was poor, really.
Do you have access to BBC 3 and 4?
Yeah.
And the red button?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
And the iPlayer. Where I live, weirdly.
Yeah.
Sort of between Ramelton and Rathmullen, Milford.
Geo just says,
it comes across.
Yeah.
It comes across.
Brilliant, perfect.
All right.
The peninsulas.
Yeah.
Over to Dahi's house the next time I want to see something that's not readily available. On the player.
So, but there was some good stuff out there. Elton John was obviously.
He did a
magnificent set, yeah. And as they say, all killer, no filler.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So he went for it. He knew, he knew what the gig was.
But he did it at a very, very high standard.
Oh, yeah. No, he was very, very good.
Well, in terms of his back catalogue, I wouldn't be a fan, but I'm well aware of his back catalogue. He can pull so much out like he needs to. Yeah.
But it's just the amount of songs. Now, I know he had a teleprompter, which some people like Piers Morgan had an issue with. He is a teleprompter for a 30-second intro. This guy sang songs for 2 hours, and it was just to remind him of lyrics or wherever that might be. I have no issue with that. Couldn't understand.
Why would that?
I'll tell you why. Because it just so happened that someone picked it up on a shot, and everyone, I suppose, wants to be the first to respond sometimes on social media and make some remark. I'm probably guilty of that myself at times, but anyway, I think that's more or less what happened. But it was just not the quality of the songs. I thought the performance was excellent.
No, it was top notch.
The whole way through.
Yeah.
Class act.
Sorry. Letterkenny's Gabriel Blake was playing with the Murder Capital, and they were playing the Woodseas stage, a big stage, and they rocked it. I have to say, Gabe was brilliant, I think everybody can really proud of him, So that was great to see. Who else? Blondie. I love Blondie. I was a bit disappointed with how they approached it. It was very rock. It was very guitar solo-y. I think if they'd have gone the whole disco route, which of course is in their repertoire, Sunday afternoon at Glastonbury, I think everybody would have gone for it.
Like, I am not all over what's happening in music-wise, but normally there's enough there that I go, oh, I like them.
Yeah.
I could see what they're going. Why could they go, ooh? But anyway, you get what I'm trying to do here.
Yeah.
I didn't get that this year. I didn't I didn't discover any music this year.
There was,
if that makes sense.
There was a young woman from London, Kat Burns, and she was absolutely lovely, gorgeous, you know, really nice, easy listening in a way, but very modern. And she had a lovely manner about her. So I think Cat Burns, it's on the iPlayer if anybody's got it.
I am going to be a bit controversial here, and after Elton John, I think the standout act is, and this is going to be a little bit controversial, was Rick Astley.
On social media, I didn't see any.
Sorry, it might not be one for the purists, right? But I'll tell you, he did a brilliant Smith set. He Highway to Hell on the drums. I thought that was one of those. I actually thought it was almost, dare I say, iconic. That someone who was uncool,
yes,
right, and he was so uncool that it probably hindered his career because he's clearly incredibly talented.
Yes,
yeah.
That was able to come out and authentically entertain like he did. Yes, for the most part, it was other people's music.
Yeah,
I thought he looked so cool. I thought he looked well, and I thought he was brilliant.
I thought he was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
but they embraced him. I saw the tweets. They really embraced him in a big way. When you see Rick Astley tweet or trending, I was like, "What the heck's going on here?" So I had to click on it.
I thought it was a lot of fun, and I thought it was a bit Butland, so wasn't it?
What's wrong with that?
You know. No, I mean, when he did Never Gonna Give You Up, I must admit, I was smiling like, I have to. The Smith set, I think with the Smith set, he, I don't know, I don't think they needed him. It was a joyous sing-along. If you saw it, the audience were singing everything, full volume. I don't think they needed him, you know.
That bit Butlins is the best comment I've heard in a long time. It's a bit
it was like,
yeah,
you know.
and I think the predominantly saddest moment for me was Lewis Capaldi. Lewis Capaldi is a really interesting character, clearly incredibly talented.
Yeah.
We went down to watch him in the 3 Arena, I don't know, was it earlier this year or late last year? I can't remember. Maybe it was earlier this year. And he was fantastic, but it was clear that he was struggling with a bit of anxiety and the twitching.
Well, he's been diagnosed with Tourette's. Yeah.
So, like, as I say, there were at times it's hard to describe because it was great to be there and for him to be who he is, but also at times you could see that it appeared that he was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right now he goes on his own socials and say, look, it looks like that, but I'm all right. Now, unfortunately, because of his heavy workload and what have you, he was unable to really, to any extent, do his Glastonbury gig. The audience held him out with the big numbers. Now he's
really
taking
carried him.
an indefinite time away. But I just thought, it was incredibly.
I think it
sad.
was. Well, I think it was one of those classic Glastonbury moments.
Right.
You know, the crowd really lifted him, carried him, and I think if he hadn't looked so distressed, it would have been. You know, but he did genuinely look distressed.
That's what I'm saying.
But I thought it was interesting because, like Cat Burns, who I was talking about, I mean, she talked about her anxiety as well, and she was like, this one, you know, how she talked about how difficult it is for her to actually get up on stage. No, she looked as cool as cucumber. She looked calmness itself, but you know, she was talking about it, and I think it's great that these things are talked about.
Yeah, I mean, it encourages people to. It takes away the shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said he's taking time away to work on his physical and mental health.
Yeah,
and the two are intertwined. And you know what? Fair play to him. He seems to. There's a documentary about him on Netflix. He seems to have a good. He's grounded in normal life as well, in inverted commas. So he's got the best chance now. To work through that.
I've always wanted to be grounded in normal life myself. One of these days.
It scares me the thought of it. So you would give the experience of Glastonbury what you consumed out of 10 over the weekend?
Not a classic year.
No,
6. 6.
I think that's fair enough. Did you watch any?
No, I did not.
Mike?
So no.
Okay. So what would you give it out of 10?
That's a really good question, isn't it?
6.
I'll think about that. Okay. I'll just disagree with Dahi and say something other than 6, just to bring a bit of conflict to the show, because that's what people want.
There's quite
that's
a bit
what you're missing with vanilla, is it?
Yeah.
We're kind of missing. We're going to be talking a bit about stage 2 and on TV, but I want to go to the cinema.
Yes.
Flash.
Okay.
Yeah. The Flash. That's the wrong Flash, but anyway.
Do the shake and Flash. No,
shake and vac.
Shake and vac. Right. Oh, that was a great ad. That was one of those great naff ads.
That ran for about 30 years.
It ran forever. Yeah, it was one of the biggest.
Vac and put the
freshness back. Yeah, it was one of those great ads.
When your carpet smells fresh.
Oh my God, I'm having
your room does too.
Every time you vacuum,
remember what to do.
Wow, that is marketing 101, isn't it?
I'm having a complete flashback here. It's like that episode of Cheers when they didn't have any dialogue, but they all did was it one of the Queen tracks or something at the start? That was amazing. The Flash was in the cinema last week, and myself and Fanula and 2 other friends, 4 of us went along to see it. It has opened spectacularly poorly.
Wow, okay.
In America. It's one of the biggest superhero flops
of all.
With
Batman in it?
Yeah, Batman's in it.
Everyone was raving about it.
Well, everybody was raving about it, but nobody went to see it. Would be the best way to put it. And it opened lower than Black Adam, which was the biggest flop DC had ever had. And now they have a new biggest flop rapidly. And it is absolutely it's catastrophic globally in terms of the amount of money that this is going to lose unless it makes it back streaming. Having said that, all 4 of us that actually went along to see it, and I myself was reluctant about going to see it for various reasons. The 4 of us thoroughly enjoyed it. In fact, I'd say Kieran loved it passionately, and I came pretty damn close. We all really, really enjoyed this movie. It's a funny movie, and part of the reason for that is the same writers who did Dungeons and Dragons, which we were raving about a couple of months ago. And these are the same guys who did movies like Horrible Bosses, Vacation. They did the Spider-Man movie a couple of years ago, the very first one with Tom Holland. So they have a good track record of doing sort of geeky sci-fi comedy type things. And they absolutely pulled out all the stops on this movie. And for my money, I would recommend it. I am somebody who did not like Black Adam. I absolutely hated Shazam 2. In fact, when it comes to the DC universe, the last one I actually really loved was Wonder Woman, and that's going back 6 years. Mm-hmm. So it's been a long time since I enjoyed a DC movie as much as this. The thing about it is, people didn't go to see it, and there's a couple of really good pieces out there about why people didn't embrace it. Number one, this version of the DC universe is folding. It's coming to an end. People are generally aware of the fact that all of those characters are going away. Like you're losing Henry Cavill. He's been recast. You're losing Ben Affleck's Batman. You're probably losing Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. Maybe there's a question mark over her. So there may be an element of disinterest because
Who's
of
Batman in this?
That's a difficult question to answer without spoilers. There's more than one. Well, I think it's out.
Keaton's in it and Affleck's in it.
Yeah, it's one of those films. It's a multiverse movie.
Get it.
You see, Well, you see, I knew you'd lose Greg when I said that. And it actually goes back further. I mean, no spoilers, but I mean, it goes back to the 1960s and in terms of stuff that it incorporates. So it's very, very geek heavy, but funny and enjoyable. The problem with the Flash movie, probably the timing. Part of it is the fact that DC Universe is coming to an end in that form.
I don't know.
Part of it is that
would that influence audience?
Not big audiences, but it would influence some audiences. Not big. But Ezra Miller the star of this movie was in the news for a couple of years for all the wrong reasons. A lot of problems with the police, spectacular problems with the police, hiding from the police, taunting the police on social media, saying you'll never get me, fleeing across Hawaii. There's a lot of bad press around that particular performer.
Sounds like that's the film they should have made.
Yes, I'm sure Netflix is on it.
But also, is Flash as the lead character
the thing is,
enough to carry a film?
Flash, this is another thing that people have said about the film. The Flash has just ended a 9-season hit TV series that people embraced in a big way.
I'm on about broader audience now.
But even so, well, that's
like
still,
you say Batman, you say Superman, you say Wonder Woman. You don't have to have watched a 9-part series on
to understand this thing.
Is Flash a significant enough character to sort of go build a film around him?
Probably based on the fact that nobody went to see this film. Probably
Ant-Man,
not.
I don't know what franchise that's in.
Yeah, he's Marvel. But they were big. Like each of those did better. Each of the
Marvel.
They did, and that's the thing about DC as well. DC have not quite managed to do what Marvel does, and people don't embrace it in the same way. The movie flopped. That's the fact of it. But I'm still going to say, for us, the 4 of us and myself, we really enjoyed this. We were laughing. We got the geeky stuff. I mean, there was a lot of stuff. I mean, it's not just Michael Keaton coming back as Batman from 1989's Batman, but there's a lot of other stuff layered in there that we all got. Maybe the general audience won't get a lot of that stuff, but we did, and we thought it was funny. It was very funny.
I genuinely think things can actually be too clever for their own good.
Oh yeah, it can be.
And I feel a lot of these films and franchise are getting too clever for their own good.
Well, this is very self-referential, which can be a turn-off, be a turn-off, like everything you've described to me now is every reason why I will never watch it. The thing,
With every word that comes out of your perfectly formed mouth, I feel ever more discouraged.
But the thing to remember, and I agree with you, I absolutely agree with you, but the thing to remember is when you look at the global, and I did this last week, the global and American box office, 2 of the top 4 movies globally right now are Marvel films. And when you look at last year, I think 8 of so they are clearly, the general public are still globally embracing superhero movies, and they're not turned off by multiverses in the way you are, because they embrace not only the Marvel ones like Doctor Strange and Spider-Man, but they embrace the one with Jamie Lee Curtis. What is it? Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. That one, yeah.
Well, that's a different
kind of thing.
But what we need
is
amazing. But the problem, I just think, right, you can't keep going back to the same well. I mean, maybe the advent of AI is what we need, because clearly humans...
Controversial.
No, but clearly humans are running out of ideas because they keep having to... And the only thing that what will happen because of what you say about what films are dominating the top 5 is they'll keep doing the same thing. It'll be another
it is a business.
2 years before maybe someone tries something different.
But it is a business, and if something is making money, you'll keep making it. So Marvel are going to keep doing what they're doing. But DC are failing. I mean, their movies are not cracking the top 20.
What are you giving it out of 10?
I would give this a real, for me, hardcore 9. I loved it.
You might watch it when it comes on the wee screen, Dahi, or if you've seen it, or...
I'm kind of over superhero movies.
I think so, I am too.
I'm kind of past
exhausted.
that.
Yeah, I'm exhausted.
And Greg's only seen 2 of them, so I mean...
No, I watched all of them. It's just the crossover, 2 of the same characters in the same film. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking full of films, like you going... Paying your hard-earned money, not to mention the popcorn and everything, go and watch a film and coming back saying it was great, but it really was a setup for the next 2 films. That's not acceptable.
Not for you,
me. I'm not ready to buy into 3 films because money's so hard.
The last thing I would say about this one, just before we leave it,
if we get a slush fund here,
then it's different. It's a whole different thing. It's a different thing.
If there was a barter account I could get my hands on.
That's just for the advertising people.
That's only for the thing I would say about this as well, and this is probably the best thing to leave it on. Only for the fact that I was invited. Kieran was going, Tom was going. I said to Philip, I wasn't going to go and see this in the cinema. I wasn't going to go and see this in the cinema. Because I wasn't bothered about it because it's DC. I was not, and I was, of the 4 of us that went along, I was the reluctant one. I was like, well, we'll see how it goes. So make of that what you will, but I would not have gone to see this.
A listener says, I watched a lot of Glastonbury. Really good acts such as Ray, Olivia, Dean, Elton John was just amazing. Lewis Capaldi is an amazing voice. It was sad watching him struggle with the last song. Good to see the likes of Candy Staunton do Suspicious Minds. Her big hit was Young Hearts Run Free. Indeed.
I thought with Candy Staunton, her voice, I mean, she's in her 80s.
Yeah.
So fair enough, and I'm a huge fan. But the voice isn't there.
Yeah, and that's what was the standout for Elton John, because if the truth be told, say for instance Lionel Richie, right, he's still a great performer, but the voice just isn't quite there. Diana Ross is the same. It's great to see them up on stage. The voice, the Elton John for me, it was all still there. That's what was the standout for me. Right, because it's for me, just to see the people live is not enough. You want an experience of what they had previously. Big weekend in Gweedore next week. Salt Music Festival with Dean Lewis, Tiny Temper, Lyra and Jenny Green. Looking forward to some great live music. Okay, sounds good. Great to see these artists being brought to this part of the world. Fingers crossed the weather picks up. Kevin from Dunlow, while we've been hearing about people spending it like gold all week, and maybe RTE Gold will have to change its name, so that's why I'm looking forward to Indiana Jones 5. I'd prefer to watch someone actually find gold and earn it. I was reminded that Harrison Ford was third choice. Only Tom with the Tash Selick was contracted, and Michael may have missed out on classic Magnum PI. Say hello to Fanula, no doubt, fan in one hand and cocktail in the other, from Sonny Donegal. Kevin from Dunlow, who's an outrageous liar because it's not sunny in Donegal. But I think the fan and the cocktail, definitely that's what she's at.
I definitely said that, that's true. In a parallel universe, they're going to see Tom Selleck as Indiana Jones, because it would have happened, but he couldn't get out of Magnum.
But it didn't happen.
Didn't happen.
Then it's irrelevant.
But in another universe, the multiverse, Greg, the multiverse, it's out there.
I would, if you was allowed, I'd punch you. No, I wouldn't. Back with more after these.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
The 9 till Noon Show with the Lennon Festival Ramelton from the 6th to the 10th of July. Save the date and gather your friends for an incredible lineup featuring Sharon Shannon, ABBA Sensations and Jimmy Buckley.
Go full Lidl for a summer of savings just like our customers.
For me, being a new mammy, and especially when daddy's in work, it's handy for me to go grab some salads, grab some ready-made meals, everything like that. And then coming into summer, we'll hopefully have some good weather and get the barbecue rocking.
Yeah. Go on. Go full Lidl today.
Disney's The Lion King in Dublin. More to be seen than has ever been seen. Join Highland Radio on our trip on Thursday, 26th of October 2023 to see the award-winning Lion King the musical. Brought to you by Disney Theatrical Productions. Your trip includes luxury transfers, overnight stay at the 4-star City North Hotel Dublin on a bed and breakfast basis, and your ticket to the show. All this for just €219 per person sharing. Call 074 91 25,000 to book. A non-refundable deposit of €100 per person will hold your place. Single supplement applies. To see Disney's The Lion King in Dublin.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
I just fell over a chair. I don't think there's anything really. I was in a rush to get back. I needed more water.
And he does do his own stunts. I can attest.
I do my
Fair
own
play.
stunts very poorly. I couldn't get a look like so handsome and lean. And so fleet of foot.
If anybody's got lookalikes of Greg that they've seen, please send them into Highland Radio.
I think most people have half a dozen of them in their fridge, if the truth be told. Eggs.
Oh, very
good. It's bad when you have to explain it. Hopefully a listener out there got that joke. Right, okay, so we've done Flash. Let's go to On Green On Theatre. Jimmy's winning matches, probably the closest we're going to get to football action, is it, for the next until next season anyway. What's this about? Well, we know what it's about, Dahi. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, we're back in rehearsals next week for Jimmy's Winning Matches. It'll be part of the Arts Festival this year, so it'll be running from the 20th to the 22nd of July in Greenan. It's kind of a one-woman tour de force by Louise Conahan.
Very well received.
Yeah, very well received. Yeah. And by the general public and by members of the team, you know. So it's a woman's life. It's very much about a woman's life. It's bookended by the two great Donegal All-Ireland wins, 92 and 2012. So it's her life in that time and in between that time, and very much the ups and downs of it.
They're the time frame anchors as much as anything, aren't they? If
yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
I mean, it is about it, and you live through that, but it's a vehicle for a personal story. Really,
exactly. I suppose if you think of things like Myra, Woman of Derry, which was a very, powerful play, and I suppose it evokes that in some ways, you know. But obviously, you know, we've got 2012 there, and you know, the match and things like that. So it's a great show. It's great fun.
I loved it. Yeah, I remember seeing it the first time around. When was that? How long ago was that? Is that
January?
Okay.
Really, I was going to say a couple of months ago, but this year's gone so quick.
Yeah,
anyway.
it has.
I mean, it does. It feels like I've only seen it a couple of weeks ago, but yeah, it was very funny. She's amazing. It's a strong script. It's evocative.
It's emotional too, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
Various emotions.
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that classic drama. It'll pull you up, it'll pull you down, you know, it'll hook you in.
And as we said before when we were chatting about some of these things that are very specific maybe to a sport or to an event, it's actually very general. You don't have to, like, you could travel this almost, you know, you could travel anywhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
very much a woman's story.
Yeah,
it's very much a human story, you know, and it's about human life, and it's the ups and downs of it. And as she says in the play, where her big brother Rory's talking to her, and it's like, you want to know something about football, you need to get up again every time you're hit.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the motto of
the core of it. Yeah.
That's the core of the show, you know.
All right, when is it on?
20th to the 22nd of July.
Okay, so plenty of time to plan for that then, and I'm sure it'll be really, really well attended.
I think it'll be a highlight, it'll be one of the things that people will go and see it again, I'm sure, who saw it before maybe, but people who
missed out,
heard about it
definitely
will want to go and see it. That's the thing, you know.
We're going to be back with much more from our guests, and we have another guest joining us in studio, so I'm going to take this quick break to facilitate that. Stay right where you are.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with the Lennon Festival Remelton from the 6th to the 10th of July, bringing you the super talented Sharon Shannon on Friday the 7th. See Lennon Festival Remelton on Facebook for ticket information.
And O'Neill with the offload to McCarthy. McCarthy now with a kick to win the club championship. Now.
Super TV! Sick of missing out on the exciting bits? With National Broadband Ireland's high-speed fibre broadband network being delivered to over 560,000 premises around the country, everyone can enjoy the biggest sporting events, films and TV with no glitches and no freezing.
What a day for the parish!
Never miss another kick. Find out more at nbi.ie. NBI, building a limitless Ireland, supported by the Government of Ireland.
Wake up, wake up. The Easy Living Furniture Summer Sale is on with up to 50% off all mattresses, pillows and mattress protectors, with a huge selection of mattresses that are exclusive to Easy Living Furniture and 0% interest-free finance available. Now is the perfect time to gift yourself the mattress of your dreams. Speak to one of our sleep specialists today. Summer sale now on with all mattresses reduced in Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park.
Get 20% off M&S school uniforms, including weather-resistant trousers.
We're braving the outdoors!
And stain-resistant school shirts.
We're creating my next masterpiece.
M&S school uniforms with prices locked for 3 years since 2021. Available in-store and online at marksandspencer.ie now. 20% off all school uniforms. Offer starts 27th of June. Subject to availability. T's and C's apply.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme, and we've jammed Mick Aitken in between Michael and Dahi. Mick, welcome onto the programme. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you with us. And Michael, you're still with us, aren't you? You are?
Yes.
Dahi's still there.
You can hear me, yeah?
Yeah.
Yep.
Just nodding's not fantastic on radio. We appreciate your sentiment, your effort. All right, talk to us then about Slaughterhouse Comedy, if you don't mind, Mick.
I don't mind at all. Yeah, so on the 6th of July, in House Bar, Voodoo, I'm opening a comedy club. So doors open at 8 p.m, starts at 8:30, and it's a $5 at the door. Cash, by the way, because a lot of people are asking, and yeah, I'm not that prepared, so it's cash at the door, €5.
What is it?
It's a comedy night.
I just move this
all.
You stay where you are. That's fine. Just want to pick you up clearly. Go ahead.
Right, yeah. Just a night of stand-up comedy. I've been doing comedy now for a while, but there is nothing in the town here, and it was ripe for the picking, so I went for it.
And talk to us about the lineup.
Oh, it's a great lineup. So the scene in the north, especially Belfast, is booming at the minute. I would find that I'd have to go, like, I'm travelling very far for me to do stuff there's not much about. There is, I'll just mention, there's Chicken Box Comedy in Derry, there's the Boiler Room in Strabane, and there is in Oma the Green Room, so they're kind of the closest to me, but other than that it's all Belfast. But yeah, so a lot of comedians here are all from the north, headlined by Kieran Franco and Sean McAlevey. They're both a part of a podcast, Are We Podcast. Shout out Are We Podcast. Opened by Justin Freeburden. I've done gigs with all these guys. They're all great comedians. Bronan Nicaid, Adam Byrne is the only guy on here I haven't actually done a gig with. But James McCauley, William Callahan, he's the most autistic guy on that list. And Kieran Franco, the headliner's a close second to that. So, yeah.
Why has there been such a gap for so long, then?
Oh, I have no idea, but...
because we're kicking in every other element of the arts, aren't we?
Yeah,
and
absolutely, yeah.
You know, comedy should come natural to us living up here because we've got so much source material depending on your style of comedy. I mean, it's just... do you hope that even though maybe to some extent you're having to import the talent, that as this catches on, it'll either, you know, bring people out of the woodwork that are there that want a platform. They have to prove themselves, of course, to be of a certain standard and what have you. But is that what you hope, that this creates a new scene in the Northwest? As you mentioned, there's Derry Strabans there already, but, you know, into Donegal, North Sligo, you know, North Leitrim, that kind of I mean, they're out there.
Yeah.
But where are they, you know?
Absolutely. They are out there. That's one of my goals with this club opening now. It is open mic style, as in from any level, from beginner to someone on the scene now wanting to sharpen material before a bigger act or anything like that. Absolutely anyone can get in contact and we'll get you on. I want a platform for people to have somewhere to go and to someone to try it for the first time even.
Because even if the truth be told, like if you get some of the top comedians in Britain and Ireland, if they've written a new show, they'll do small shows. If they're going up to the big festival in Scotland, they'll do small house shows to test and refine their material. That happens all the time. So you know, it's not anything new here in terms of, you know, people working through their material in front of a live audience effectively.
Absolutely. It's essential. Small clubs are essential for any level of comedian. And there's no shortage of them. Like I know the opening night is now next Thursday the 6th, but I have the next 3 months fully booked.
Wow.
So like, and there's still people messaging and stuff. Like they're all comedians I already know or have heard of, but I'm looking for absolutely anyone to get in contact if they're interested in.
And from an audience perspective too, you know, I mean, there are comedy shows that come here, but if you look at the population, how many as a percentage of that population actually get to go along? If people enjoy their comedy shows on the TV and even their panel shows or whatever, this is a real opportunity in a local environment for €5 entry to sort of say, well, I wonder what live comedy's like. It's got to be hit and miss.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the nature of comedy, isn't
it? Of course,
I'm not going to name them because it's going to sound like I'm criticising them, but there's some, you know, very, very famous comedians in this country that I just don't get. Yeah. And then there's others that others don't get, that for some reason everything comes out of the mouth amuses me.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd say people won't get me much. I'm a very, I don't know how to say it, blue, dirty. I'm
You're
definitely 18. Yeah, absolutely. I'll take that all day.
That's a fair description.
But just so people are aware what they're getting into.
I mean, it is adult. It is over 18.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
So
I want to make
come with that understanding, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's not we're not going to give away a family pass to this one.
No, absolutely not.
You know what I mean?
No.
But the different styles is part of the appeal of these nights. I mean, you know that if the guy who's up now or the girl who's up now isn't quite what you're seeing,
buffet, isn't it?
The next person will probably be more your style. That's part of it. People know that going in.
Yeah.
You know?
And there is a good mix in this lineup. There's some cleaner guys, some not so clean guys, but it's a good mix. And it is all jokes. I would like for there not to be too many, how do I say this, snowflakes on the night. You know, don't come to get offended. Come to have a good night and just enjoy yourself. It's just a joke.
I think I think it's been thrashed out, that argument now about where you can go with comedy. I think it's everyone's had their say and the dust has settled and we are where we're at.
Yeah.
You know, and there's been some high-profile politicians, comedians that have led the way in that regard. But I mean, you know, I mean, it's. I gotta say, I don't really want to go. I don't want to go through it locally. Put it like that.
Yeah.
So I don't really, you know, if you're easily offended, please don't go.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Yes.
Right. Okay. The format then is doors open at 8. The show gets underway at 8:30 and then runs. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 named acts.
Yeah.
And that's it. So in other words, if someone says, I want to perform on this coming Thursday,
no,
the slots are booked. It's for future gigs down the line.
Future gigs down the line to get in contact with. And like I say, so it is, I'm aiming for the first Thursday of every month. And like I said, I have the next 3 months already fully booked. So that's amazing. The event is sponsored by Absolute Vodka. Shout out Absolute Vodka. And so there'll be bottles of vodkas up for grabs on the night. I'm thinking on running a wee joke competition amongst the crowd. So.
Right, okay.
And I'm also going to solve a Rubik's Cube live on stage. So.
Right. I don't know if that's a reference to recent events or not, but anyway, hopefully you survived that one. Okay, Dahi, do you have a favourite joke that you're prepared to share?
You've just jumped this on me, Greg.
Of course it is.
Absolutely.
We don't give guests
I'm not
any forewarning here. I'm not going to ask.
I'm not the funny one in the family, but my son actually was in Chicken Box.
Right.
Last month. He tried his first.
It takes
he's
a lot
19,
of neck, doesn't it?
Oh, very good.
Dahi.
He did Chicken Box.
Takes a lot of neck. I think, even more so than maybe singing or acting.
It's funny. It's kind of funny though, because like he'd call me to take a spider out of his room, but he'll stand up in front of 20, 30 people and do a piece about. Well, I'm not even going to talk about what the piece was about. But like, it's funny, isn't it? Yeah. Human beings, we're complicated creatures. What we'll do and what we won't do.
Do you have a view on what you can joke about, what you can't joke about, or do you think comedy?
You've got to be funny. You can talk about anything as long as you're funny.
Yeah.
It's when the joke doesn't land that people get in trouble,
or it lands in the wrong place, I suppose too.
Well, yeah, I guess context is a big thing.
Yeah.
But if it's funny, people laugh.
Yeah.
When it's not funny,
I don't think comedians would go out necessarily to offend. It's just maybe read the room wrong.
It's the right. Yeah, it's good.
I do think though you should be allowed to criticise comedians. I don't think they should be the only group in society you can't call out.
Yeah.
For sure.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I think though, because it can be often lead into such serious conversations that we have to have a fulsome, nuanced, not just like he said something I don't like. Yeah, but I'm joking, so I'm entitled to say whatever I like. That's pointless. That's pointless nowhere. And I think that's the part of the conversation I think we've kind of exhausted, which I think is good.
Yeah. What was interesting in the theatre recently was Tommy Tiernan had the underbags, so it's like an enclosed pouch you put your phone in, so nobody could video or record him, and I would say it was the best gig he's done in the theatre in 20 years.
Oh, wow. So he had the confidence of things not being taken out of context.
Yeah, he doesn't have to worry.
Yeah.
And Tommy does walk the line sometimes.
Well, not only walks the line, he crosses it, jumps all over whatever's on the other side, and some of his jokes, there is no comedic context. They've just been downright offensive, in my view. But anyway, we're not going to get into that now. That was a different time. I think we're in a different period of time now. Have you a good joke?
We were chatting about an old horrible joke last night.
It better be short.
Okay, so we were chatting about this old Jiminy Cricket gag where the young fella who's gone off to London and his mother hasn't heard from him, so she sends the neighbour's son to find him, and he heads off going from pub to pub to pub, and he finally figures out that he might be in this bar, and he goes in, and the guy is in the bathroom. He runs in and he says, "Are you nearly done?" And the guy's voice comes from the other side of the cubicle, I am, but there's no paper in here." That's no excuse. You should write home to your mother.
Right, okay.
That was we were chatting about this. We were trying to figure out where the joke came from, and then we eventually found it.
Just don't have any canned laughter here.
I've got a joke. Okay. I've got a joke for you. Yeah. It's a Stephen Wright joke.
Yes.
And it's, I can levitate birds.
Yeah.
But nobody cares.
I hate things that are clever. Too clever for me. Hopefully, make yours is a little bit more easy to understand.
My joke.
No,
good, because I cannot tell a joke on here.
No, yours is different. I said from the get-go, Mick, no, it's not going to happen. So if people want to see Mick, you're performing Thursday, are you?
No, I'm emceeing.
Who's? You're Mick Sham. That's your stage name.
I'm Mick Sham. Yeah. So stage name. That's kind of complicated. Won't get into it anyway. Yeah, Mick Sham.
You literally can't open your mouth.
Yeah, I can't. I'm really trying. There's people tuning in right now just to see if I curse.
Yeah, well, listen, it happens from time.
Forget about it.
It happens from time to time, but we appreciate your self-censoring. Yeah. All right, listen, Mick. As I say, I hope this grows from strength to strength, and I just hope that it brings out the natural talent that we have out there. Because where would you go? You were not going to book your own venue, and you know what I mean. Comedy's a different way where you have to sort of get the audience and get in front of that audience, isn't it? It's not like a country singer can get a bit of a reputation, book out a small venue, sell. It's not like that for comedians.
Yeah.
So it can be, but it's just hard to start that way, right?
Yeah.
So this is brilliant. All right, Thursday night, 21 Lower Main Street, Letterkenny, County Donegal. It's the House Bar View. Doors open at 8 p.m. Starts at 8:30. Entries are £5. Cash only.
Cash is king.
Cash is king. All right, okay. Well done, Mick. MC Mick Sham there. Kieran Franco, Sean McLevy, Brona Nickade.
Yeah.
That's actually McHugh, isn't it? I should know that. Adam Byrne, James McCauley, William Callahan, Declan McBride, Justin Freeburn, and well done.
Yeah.
Good luck with it.
Thank you.
Really
Thank you very
wish
much.
It's a huge success for you and all of those taking part.
The 9 till noon show with the Lennon Festival Ramelton from the 6th to the 10th of July. Experience the incredible ABBA sensations on Saturday the 8th. For ticket information, see Lennon Festival Ramelton on Facebook.
At Centra, feel good and shop smart with great offers this week, like selected barbecue meats mix and match any 3 for €10. Fairy and Lenore fabric softener 83 wash and Cushelle toilet tissue 9 roll €5 each. And Casiero Del Diablo Cabernet Sauvignon and Sauvignon Blanc €9 each. Centra, live every day. Enjoy alcohol sensibly.
Be prepared for training and match day with Michael Murphy Sports and Leisure with a variety of mouth guards, shorts, socks and boots from O'Neill's, ATAC and Adidas. Exclusive Michael Murphy GAA gloves are available in 4 different styles. You'll find everything your team needs to succeed on match day at michaelmurphysports.ie.
Hurry, hurry! You really are running out of time to get down to your local Connolly's Volkswagen 232 sales event and claim your full SEAI grant for your new Volkswagen electric vehicle. After the 30th of June, the grant will reduce from €5,000 to €3,500. Order your new 232 today at Connolly's, Letterkenny, Sligo or Ballina.
The Saturday Shuffle is coming to you live this Saturday from Lidl Buncrana. Go full Lidl this summer with a family fun day. We have loads of fun activities for all the family to enjoy from 12 midday till 2 p.m. and incredible prizes to be won in store and on air. So join the Highland team this Saturday at Lidl Buncrana. Go on Buncrana. Go full Lidl today.
If you don't mind, okay. Right, Mick didn't want to leave. I thought he was going to hang on. No shame in that either. If he wanted to, more than welcome.
Sure, the crack's good.
Exactly. We're very relaxed, aren't we?
It's like a comedy club in itself.
It is.
Indeed, except without the gags.
I knew you'd say
certainly.
that. I knew you'd say that.
Certainly from you two. Like, I'm doing the heavy lifting here.
Well, in fairness, like Michael Eddy was a professional comedian. Well, professional stretching a point.
This is a good question marks. Yeah. That's why this will fly, because we had a club for years and Porrick ran it and Barry.
I think Donald performed in it.
And
he did.
And that ran. He's on to a winner. He's going to, because there is an audience there and people will come out, and they came out for years and they'll come out and it'll thrive and it should thrive and it's good to see it. And I look forward to going along and sitting in the audience and having a good laugh.
Do you think that? Do you know, just to catch his on, do you think it has to be toned down at all? Do you know what I mean? You don't people are going there with their eyes wide open?
No.
Yeah, I don't think it is. Yes.
Okay.
I don't think that, you don't think, people are smart.
Knowledge Fight podcast, Michael. What's going on here?
What's going on here? Yeah, because we don't normally chat that much about podcasts, but they're out there and people do listen to them.
In huge numbers.
So this is one that's come to my attention in the last month or so, and I love it. If I was to ask you the question, who is the most evil man in broadcasting, you might say Ryan Tubridy. That's fair enough. But is there somebody even more evil out there? And the answer is yes, and that is Alex Jones, in my view, who is the guy who hosts the show Infowars, which is the conspiracy, right-wing, racist, misogynistic throne that everyone...
And there is good points.
And there is good points, yeah.
Was he the guy who got sued for a lot of money for Sandy Hook?
Yeah, and then promptly declared bankruptcy. So he can't pay all the money he owes. So he's the guy who says things like Sandy Hook is a false flag operation and none of those children were shot and the kids. So I've been aware of him for about 15 years. Back in the days of MySpace, that shows how long ago. Somebody reached out to me and wanted me to, favour him, or what was it on MySpace? It wasn't like, was it you had to endorse or you had to attach them to your profile or something?
Yeah.
And I took great obsession to this anyhow. So what am I chatting about here? What's this all about? There's a comedy-esque but very serious-minded podcast that started in 2017. 2 comedians in Chicago, Dan and Jordan are their names. One of them knew what Alex Jones was up to and one of them didn't. And so they concocted a podcast where every week, about 2 or 3 times a week, they do a show which is very funny, but they listen to Alex Jones's daily episode, and then one of them, the guy who listens to it, fact checks it and, you know, holds it up to critical thinking and analysis, and he explains it to the other guy. And the other guy never listens to the show, so he only gets it through the filter. And the reason I found them, it was actually, they've now started, because this is so successful, they have like 800 episodes up there, 816 episodes as of last week. They've actually branched out a bit after focusing so much on Jones, and they did Tucker Carlson, who is another sort of mainstream sort of thing. And this, I came across it, I listened to that episode, and it really appeals to me, this idea of using critical thinking and humour to debunk what these people are doing. Alex Jones has about 10 million listeners for his show, for InfoWars. That makes him more popular. I was doing some research on this than some of the mainstream American news sites like Newsweek. I mean, they have a larger following. And a lot of the conspiracies that really take flight because of his show. Things like Pizzagate and all the stuff that happens. And it really destroys the lives of ordinary people, like the pizza that was at the centre.
But who's consuming? You see, this is a problem, unfortunately, with modern society now, because it's going to be your anti Tucker Carlson, anti what's his face InfoWars that are going to consume this and go, look, we're right because they're proving that he's wrong. Or do you think this is generally educating the great American public?
I would hope that because it's very funny, and the guys are comedians, that they put it, I would hope that it has a general appeal, and you would like to think that it would educate people. But I do think that a lot of the hardcore followers of these people are like, they're in a cult, and I think it's very hard to reason with them and to get through
I'm going to slightly separate out, if you don't mind, Alex Jones, I think, and Tucker Carlson. I think Tucker Carlson's not where Alex Jones is.
Yes.
And I think he's slightly more mainstream than Alex Jones. I mean, he is... absolutely killing it on Twitter in terms of interactions and views and what have you. I'm on about like tens of millions.
We only have Twitter's word on that, though. We only have Twitter's word on that.
We only have Twitter's word.
That's quite
but
true.
what they do very well, I take about what you're saying, but when they dissect, like what Carlson does and what Jones does is they'll try and give legitimacy to some of the things they're saying by saying, hey, even the Washington Post has a piece up that says blah, blah.
And I'm only asking questions.
Oh, no, you're asking me.
Not me. That's what they say.
You're asking
That's what they say.
So
I'm only asking questions here.
What they show is that what Carlson does very well is he either accidentally misinterprets articles that he quotes or deliberately lies about the content of articles that he quotes. But they use the first show of his, he talked at great length about the dam that was blown up in the Ukraine, and there was a big thing about what happened there and who did that. If you listen to Carlson knew instantly who did it and why they did it, and he spoke and he said, and it was even covered in a news story about 6 months ago and blah blah blah. So what did these guys do? But they went back and read the story he was talking about, and they were like, no,
it didn't say that.
It didn't say that.
Yeah, I kind of used to care, and I kind of really don't anymore. Yeah. And another example of it recently was there was a, and I have no allegiance or really following to Greta Thunberg. I don't, you know what I mean? I'm not, it's not that I disagree with her. It's not that I agree with her. I just don't really, I'm not that worried about what she has to say. But she tweeted about 5 years ago, and the tweet read along the lines of, if we don't stop using oil and gas over the next 5 years, the world will come to an end, right? Now, clearly what she was saying, whether she was right or wrong, it was very, very clear. She was saying over the next 5 years, we need to start reducing this stuff, or in the future, the world will end, okay? Yeah. But really intelligent people of a certain political persuasion were laughing, saying, well, we're all still here, aren't we?
Yeah.
And at one point I was going to tweet something, and I thought, if you're going to frame something just because that's the way you want to think about it, there's just no point challenging it.
I agree with you.
And I just pulled out. I back out of it now.
Yeah.
Do you get where I'm coming down from?
Of course,
It's like my life's too short to fact check or get involved or that space.
I agree with you. I totally feel that, but I also feel that whether we like it or not, it's the world we live in. And when you hear that millions of people believe verbatim everything Alex Jones says, I think that's worthy of paying some attention to. I think it's important to know. But I agree with you. I think you're not going to achieve very much by trying to hold a a light in the darkness, on your own. But these guys are very successful. The lawyer...
It sounds like a really interesting concept.
It's a great concept.
Even if you don't really buy what they're selling, it sounds like it's a really
very
interesting
funny,
concept.
yeah.
I was going to ask, are they getting big numbers?
That I don't know. I didn't even look into that, and I must look into that. But what I can say is the lawyer who successfully prosecuted Jones used their show for research and came on the show and talked at great length. Okay. So their work is actually doing some good. Okay, but of course he's now bankrupt and he won't pay any of that money.
Have a listen to that. It's Knowledge Fight. It's a podcast. All right, Alan O'Reilly's of Carlow Weather. Alan, hiya. Good to have you with us. How are you getting on?
Doing, Greg?
Doing fantastic, Alan. Right, okay, so unseasonably windy weather. Is that what we're heading into here in the northwest over the weekend?
Yeah, it's going to get windy later this evening. It's going to be a very breezy weekend, gusting to maybe 60 or 70 kilometres an hour, even the next 2 afternoons and evenings. Some good sunny spells, though, for the weekend. There will be some showers around, so it will be the typical Irish summer, lovely between the showers weather. But, not too bad. Temperature is not too high, though, feeling fresh in that breeze as well. So it's not going to be probably T-shirts and shorts weather, but not too bad, just some showers. Next week then is looking a little bit unsettled again. The European weather model is showing a risk of a little storm developing and coming up across us Tuesday into Wednesday, which is what Éireann have mentioned in their forecast. But the other models aren't showing that, so I'm hoping that that doesn't turn out to be the case. But certainly a lot of uncertainty on the weather models. Some hints that we may heat up for next weekend. So I'm hoping I'm going to bring the heat back up to Donegal with me when I head up there, Greg.
Oh, Alan, we can't wait to have you up here. And I don't know, sometimes it's a blessing or it's a curse, the way you can look so far into the future now, even with only a degree of certainty, but you don't see anything fantastic over the next while, or is that heating up next weekend maybe the beginning of something?
Well, no, because even if it does heat up, it does still look like we're going to have low pressure near us. So there's no sign of a big settled spell. The first week of July is certainly a mixed bag. As we head into the second week, we might see it warm up, but we're not looking at Azores High coming back. But some of the longer range do show that there's a good chance of that later in July. So I wouldn't be writing off for summer as some are doing. Certainly wouldn't.
Good stuff, Alan. We love your optimism. We look forward to welcoming you up to this beautiful part of the world. Thanks, Alan. Take care of yourself. That's Alan O'Reilly of Carlow Weather there. Right, our cinema winner is Eileen Doherty Killigordon, aged 4. She and 4 others are going to that premiere of Elemental on the 5th of July. Eileen, I hope you have a fantastic time. Thank you so much for entering the competition. There'll be another family pass. As I say, it's a flexible family pass to accommodate whatever is necessary, within reason, of course, on John's show, which is coming live from Creaslough. A tractor run from the Red Hughes pitch in Killigordon this Sunday afternoon at 12 noon. It's in aid of Donegal Alzheimer's Association. Refreshments afterwards. And just to remind you to join John Breslin today, he's broadcasting live at the award-winning Wild Atlantic Camp and Luxury Glamping Complex in Creaslough today. They've just launched 9 brand new 2-story luxury chalets. So tune in, or why not pop down if in the area, for great fun and plenty of giveaways. I would like to go glamping, but
that's a great spot, actually.
It is.
The Wild Atlantic Camp.
I've stayed there myself in my own towed accommodation. But the problem is apparently, I don't believe it to be the case, that I might actually make some slight noises when I sleep. And the pods don't afford escape from such noise. Yeah, so don't know what to do there. The 2-story, I wonder, is upstairs. I snored, I.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Sorry, was
or maybe you've been lied to.
Was I being a bit opaque?
I was wondering if it was screaming.
I watched so... Chance will be a fine thing. I watched so much.
Only on a Thursday night, he's like, Michael, he's coming in again tomorrow.
I watched so much of the... I've watched so much of the committees over the last couple of days. I am just like by default opaque now.
Oh, right.
Skirting around things. Right, let us see. Errigal Arts Festival. We're going to be presumably doing a preview on that at some point. We normally do our John show, Will, in any case.
Yeah.
When does it start?
It starts... Oh, I'm on the spot now.
Right, it's literally on your sheet of paper here.
I know. It's next weekend, isn't it? So...
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's presume
Sounds
it does
good.
start...
Sounds good. Is that the 8th?
Let's presume it starts next weekend.
Is that
or
the
at
8th?
some later date. Looking forward to it? Both of you? I'm kind of glancing to
I was just thinking. It doesn't worry if you don't have to. We can fix this in post anyway. Don't worry about it. We'll edit it in before this is broadcast.
I already marked it. We'll cut that out.
There's
when we go live.
It'll be cut off before we go live. I'm looking forward to it. It's always great. It's great because it's always a mixed bag.
Yeah.
It's great because it's look. I know people are saying this, but it's great that we can all meet again and get out and do stuff and really embrace it and be out there. And there's something for everybody. I know I sound like a cliche here, but there's something for everybody. There'll be something of.
I think quick highlights for me. The Ramp Festival in Rathmullen is the opening weekend, so it's a music, kind of improvisational music in interesting buildings in Rathmullen, which just sounds really interesting to me. Lux are back, so that's the big open air spectacular nighttime show. They'll be in Buncrana and Arranmore, and I think the Arranmore one sounds that sounds like a real trip.
I haven't been out in Arranmore since 19?
Yeah.
And I miss it. It's a lovely part of the world.
I
used to go out there 2 or 3 times a year. Loved it.
Okay.
Have they lifted the bar in order?
Well, what you should really know, and this shows your ignorance.
How bad is your snoring? This is what I want to hear now.
What goes on in Arranmore stays in Arranmore.
That's very
So you
true.
clearly don't visit there often enough. I think my report card's clear. Certainly more recently,
I'm just thinking, is it just snoring? Is that's a big problem?
We pretend it's thawing when thunder when it hits when it hits Burton Port.
When it gets that bad, okay.
I think one of the great things about the Araglar's Festival is, it'll be in Malin, it'll be in Gweedore, it'll be on Arranmore, it'll be in Letterkenny. And I think that's one of it is its unique feature. It's the USP, isn't it?
In terms of locale and content.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right,
Yes.
okay. And we'll be talking about that during the week, as I say more.
Yeah.
Dahi, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
A super sub, I think we can call you now at this stage.
Thank you very much.
We really do appreciate it. Any details on what's going on Green give the box office a ring with Jimmy's winning matches and whatever. Thanks for your reflections. Michael.
Yes, sir.
Great
fun as always. Always
we really
lovely.
appreciate
Great
you calling up, and we'll see you next week.
Love it.
Actually, we've got a minute to fill. No,
Can I just say my quick tip for this weekend: the Lennon Festival Soapbox Derby, Sunday afternoon.
Are you in it?
No, but it is. I think it's so much fun. It's mayhem, and the weather could just add to that. In fairness, it's great fun. It really is. It's and people turn out. So I know that you're kind of advertising the music the weekend after, but actually things kick off this weekend.
Brilliant. Well done, Dahi. Thanks so much indeed. Michael, Dahi, have a lovely week. And that goes to everyone listening. Have a great weekend. We're back with you on Monday.